Kincade and Andrew Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Well, there's been no smoke coming out of NovaCare, letting the world know that there has been a new offensive coordinator hired.
So the Cardinals have not voted yet?
No, they have not decided on who the offensive coordinator is for the Philadelphia Eagles. Good morning, John Kincade. How
Good morning
are we
to
today?
you. It is a beautiful When I got in the car and drove out of the neighborhood and saw that it was like 36 degrees, I was excited, but I'm more excited to find out, are we going to get a hire like this week? Because this is the week when we really should be getting one.
It's really interesting because now the time continues. And you know what? Look, I'm okay with a thorough search, unlike what they did last year. Complete opposite. Last year, the Eagles' offensive coordinator search was everything but, right? They didn't do a search. They promoted Kevin Patullo, and that was it. This year, it's taking a lot of time. But is it taking a lot of time for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? Because let's face it, there have been candidates that a lot of people in Philadelphia have wanted and candidates that reportedly the Eagles were very intrigued by, and they're going to different destinations, right? Mike McDaniel was a name that popped up right away. Eagles had interest in him. Josina Anderson, the reporting right away, credit to her because a lot of people have now since, reiterated what she said, the complete autonomy. It's what the offensive coordinators wanted. Mike McDaniel goes to the Chargers. Then there's the Brian Dable factor where he basically told the Eagles, it's either Buffalo or Tennessee. I'm either going to Buffalo to be the head coach or I'm going to go to Tennessee to be the offensive coordinator. I'm not coming to Philadelphia to be your OC. So these top names on the markets that not only a lot of Eagles fans wanted, but it seemed like the organization wanted, are going different directions. And now time continues to tick, Johnny.
I am excited for the process, as you say. I'm not in any way discouraged by the candidates that have fallen by the wayside because I didn't want them.
Okay.
But that's just me. There are other people who wanted the name brand biggest potential guy. I didn't.
You know why? Because
Why?
it worked last year. Kellen Moore was the biggest name brand guy that was available.
Correct.
After the Chargers made the change from whoever Bruce Staley, right?
And he
That's
was
his name.
excellent.
Horrible head coach. They move on to Harbaugh. Harbaugh just wants his own staff, so Kellen Moore becomes available. He's the hottest commodity in terms of an offensive coordinator on the market. Eagles hire him. They win the freaking Super Bowl, right? And that's 11 months ago.
He did a fantastic job.
So I don't blame anybody that was thinking, man, the last top guy won the Super Bowl or was a part of the Super Bowl winning staff. I wouldn't mind another top guy. So I saw a very interesting tweet from Zach Berman yesterday because there's been a lot of conversation about how attractive this offensive coordinator job is. The three of us talked about it yesterday. I think it's attractive from an organizational standpoint, right? The Philadelphia Eagles are a successful organization, have been one of the most successful organizations since the turn of the century.
Correct.
Right? The Chiefs were a dynasty. Patriots were a dynasty. Other than those two teams, name me the team where you could say, yeah, Eagles don't come close to that team.
No, the Eagles are one of the top three. There's not even a question.
With all the success they've had, even going back to the Andy days, again, since the turn of the century. So I think from an organizational standpoint, and look at the last two offensive coordinators that had success, they immediately became head coaches. But now there's reports about whether or not the job is actually that attractive. So Zach Berman, who we're going to talk to today at 8:05, put this tweet out yesterday. Nick Sirianni has been flexible throughout this offensive coordinator search. My understanding is that autonomy has not been an issue early in the process, and he's been open-minded. He mentioned Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, different, for example, both had high interest. There might be more rigidity with some elements on the roster, like Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position, but there's also ambiguity about key spots on the roster. A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson. Those are big factors in how the offense is going to look under a new offensive coordinator. Yesterday, we asked Adam Schefter straight up, hey, Shefty, do you think the unknown of A.J. Brown is a factor? And he kind of laughed at it and was like, no. If I was an offensive coordinator, I'd want to be the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a successful organization. But here's Zach Berman, local reporter, saying, yeah, that is playing a factor, not knowing if the number one wide receiver and the Hall of Fame right tackle will be available.
Here's what I'm going to be bothered by. And you read the quote about the rigidity thing when you said for now or in the early going, that it has not been an issue. The exact quote when you read it. What was that again? Just again, you said.
My understanding is the autonomy has not been an issue early in the process. For Nick.
Autonomy has not been early in the process. Okay, my alarms. I had not read that particular quote.
You're wondering why is it potentially an issue now?
Early in the process. What I'm worried about is that now we're going to get into Meddlersville, where it's going to be, well, if it was Mike McDaniel, we're not gonna bother.
Ding.
And
ding.
to me, it scares the crap out of me. Because any one of the candidates, and as I research them more, especially the candidates I want, they are exponentially more qualified to run an NFL offense than Nick Sirianni is.
Yeah.
So when I'm hearing about this meddling, and that includes a guy who's already won a Super Bowl and he's been a head coach, but he's shown us he does not know how to run an NFL offense. He has not been able to step in either time that they've needed him to do so. So to me, I look at the candidates, these guys that might not be brand names, and I did some reading yesterday and some looking into and I knew a few of the candidates that I loved. They are so much more qualified than Nick Sirianni is to come in here and run an offense. I want them to have the autonomy.
Right, and you caught exactly what I caught. If it was a Dable, if it was a Mike McDaniel, I do believe Nick Sirianni goes, all right, look, I just want to be the head coach. These are the offensive masterminds in football. Much like Kellen Moore, even though Nick Sirianni had his say on the offense, it was the Kellen Moore show. Kellen Moore Nick Sirianni gave him the cookbook. Kellen Moore was the guy that found the recipes, right? Whereas this time around, it almost felt like it would have been, hey, Brian, Mike, you guys do whatever. But now that those guys are not available or showing no interest in coming here, you start to wonder why they don't have interest. Like, why is Brian Dable? I get why he would take the Buffalo job over the Eagles job. It's a head coaching job.
You're going to take $40 million guaranteed over $2 million guaranteed.
Right. But
like
why,
if anybody's baffled by that, I don't know what your math is.
Right.
Off.
But why is Dable then saying, well, if I don't get the Buffalo job, I'll go to Tennessee?
I told you that yesterday. We talked about it. I'm not in the least bit surprised by that.
Explain yourself.
I would
please.
take the Tennessee job over the Eagles job also. Because I have a young quarterback who was taken at the top of the draft, who I consider to be tabula rasa, to go back to Sister Celine, my Latin teacher. She's it's the blank slate. A highly talented quarterback with an incredible known being as a teammate, leader, work ethic, who is just starting his NFL career. He's a blank slate. You can teach him anything. You don't have to reteach him. Jalen Hurts, if you come in here and want to do stuff and you're an offensive coordinator, you're going to either have to build an offense that he wants to run or that he's comfortable with running because he's going to have a lot of say because he's a veteran player.
Right.
But you're also going to have to break him of habits. It's as if you take a rescue dog home and the rescue dog is 7 years old, or you take a puppy home. What's easier to train? The puppy is
right
1,000 times easier to train because you're not trying to. Thank you very much. You're trying to train something from scratch. Plus, I'm going to tell you too, when you're talking about this price bracket, there's a lot less pressure going into Tennessee.
Sure.
Where he can have a situation to work with a young quarterback, grow something, than there is to come in here to this pressure cooker.
Yeah. Well, look, I know Ross Tucker said it locally that there are people that remember that Kevin Patullo had eggs thrown at his house.
I'm so tired of that.
Well,
I don't
know.
So tired
What if some guy goes, oh man, that's how upset they get over there? And that's not
what it was?
That's not media.
You know
that's
what it
a couple
was?
knucklehead fans.
It was a teenager. It was a teenager. A stupid teenager.
Yeah.
And you know what happens on Mischief Night? All around the country?
Well, that wasn't Mischief Night.
You know what happens on
Mischief Nights? It's understandable.
You know what happens on Mischief Night? People have eggs thrown at their houses
not
and
all
stuff
over the
like
country.
that.
Yeah, that's just
You're
here.
wrong.
What do you mean?
Look it
That's
up.
just here.
Mischief Night is here. And
What
that's
do you mean
it.
here?
That's not a thing that exists.
Look
other
up the
places.
map of Mischief Night. Dude, I don't know how you didn't know that yet.
The map of Mischief
Yeah,
Night?
dude, it's only around here.
Really?
There are people outside of the Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania, New Jersey area that have no idea what Mischief Night is.
Really?
Yeah. Welcome to the world, Johnny.
Well, I know I lived 750 miles south, and people knew what Mischief Night was.
Apparently, there's a map of Mischief Night where it doesn't happen.
I think you
elsewhere.
may have read something on the internet. I lived 750 miles south, and the kids knew what Mischief Night was. Now, it was Mischief Night involved totally different things.
Sure.
It involved TPing.
Oh, yeah.
It was TPing rival high schools' kids' houses. and things like that, that kind of mischief. But
Yeah.
mischief night absolutely existed.
Well, every night is mischief night when the Eagles' offense doesn't
Yes,
work.
exactly.
Yeah, but
So-
but it wasn't every night.
So-
it was an
I know.
isolated incident with a teenager on social media, and people are making it like it was like this was a thing going on in the community. It was not. It was an isolated teenager that that sat there and actually taped it. That's how stupid it was.
Knuckleheads.
It was a knucklehead, exactly.
So, what is going on with this offensive coordinator search? Why does it not seem as intriguing as we all think it is? Because I still believe it is a job that I would want. And I'm not, and look, of course I'd want to be the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a radio host. But if I was somebody that was looking for the next step in my career,
okay,
we have seen two coaches become head coaches after, 1.5 seasons of Shane Steichen calling plays and 1 season of Kellen Moore calling plays. And they became head coaches right away. And all those millions of dollars that you're talking about Brian Dable getting, it's because of what they were able to accomplish here in Philly. Now, I also saw 2 offensive coordinators fail miserably, a lot of heat, and now they're never going to get another opportunity again. Brian Johnson will never be an offensive coordinator ever again in the NFL. Neither will Kevin Patullo. That's no surprise because he'd been around for 17 seasons before getting the opportunity. So if you look at this offensive coordinator job, and I guess we try to take our bias out of it because my bias is Eagles are successful, right?
But you're saying that you would take, okay, you're a married man. Christie's from California.
Yeah.
Money is relatively the same from what all accounts. You get to work for a coach in Harbaugh or Sirianni. Harbaugh, who whether it's been Greg Roman, whether it's been whoever, has let his offensive coordinators do their thing.
Sure.
If you're Mike McDaniel, your wife's from there. You can live there. You can work with a quarterback who you think is a very talented guy that nobody else has unlocked. And you got a head coach who is absolutely has a proven track record a long time in the NFL of letting his offensive coordinator do their thing.
Sure.
Over Nick Sirianni. I got to think it's more attractive.
Or how much is it the quarterback? You mentioned the quarterback.
I think that's part of it.
How much is that? Like, look, I hate it.
Remember, he wants to throw the ball.
Right. We've talked about this a lot. I hate it the way Justin Herbert is ranked because he's the prototype, right? Tall, big body, strong arm, fast, intelligent.
Sure.
That's what the buzzwords.
Well, he's not intelligent.
That people use.
He's not. Intelligence.
He fails.
Intelligence should be tossed aside with him because his tape would tell you that he's not intelligent and that Jalen Hurts is a Mensa quarterback.
I completely agree. But there are people inside the NFL that think Justin Herbert is still like some top 5 quarterback, and if he just gets unlocked, as you said, man, look out. And Mike McDaniel may say, I think I can unlock this guy. So we want to hear from you, 610-632-0975. What is up with this offensive coordinator job, and what is up with what Zach Berman tweeted out yesterday? We'll speak with him today at 8:05, where for some guys, complete autonomy was allowed. Maybe for others, it's not. And how much of a factor the unknown of this offensive roster is. Something that Adam Schefter kind of scoffed at yesterday. And I don't agree with Schefter. Like, I would like to know, am I coming here with A.J. Brown or without? Is there going to be a number 1 wide receiver that has had 1,500-yard seasons here? Right, 1,500-yard seasons, close to back-to-back seasons. The last 2 years, totally different. Obviously, 2 years ago, the ground game is the reason why. But I know that I have this number 1 wide receiver. The amount of time people take away Jalen Hurts and what he's accomplished because of the talent around him, I want to know if that talent's going to be here.
Oh, I would want to know that. Before I took the job, I'd want to know that.
But we won't know.
No.
And, by the way, Howie might not tell them.
I don't think Howie has an answer from what I've garnered. I do not believe Howie knows the answer about A.J. Brown because Howie controls that. Howie knows what he's going to do with A.J. Brown, I'm convinced. I think he knows what his gut instinct is. I'm sure it could still change, but I think he knows what he wants to do. From what I've garnered from research, Howie has no idea what Lane Johnson's doing. No idea.
He could retire.
But has no idea this morning what he's doing. And that's a major question mark. but will know because they got to make their plans for the draft.
Right.
He's going to know.
Right. They absolutely have to. All right. I want to play a couple of clips for you before we get some of the comments on YouTube. Obviously, we'll check our text line, our phone line, as always, at 610-632-0975. What is up with this offensive coordinator job? What do you believe is potentially the biggest detractor, right? Because reports are reports. Rumors are rumors. Is it that this isn't an intriguing job for people, or is it that other opportunities are just more intriguing? I'd rather be a head coach than an offensive coordinator. That's not something crazy.
That's
right?
not breaking news on the show this morning.
Like, I don't understand. Like, there are people that were saying, oh, yeah, Kevin Stefanski for OC. There was no shot in hell.
You weren't kidding,
Kevin Stefanski was going to be an offensive coordinator. He was going to take the first head coaching job that was offered to him, and he did with Atlanta. Yesterday, Middays with Marks had Brandon Lee Gowton on. I know you really respect Brandon and his work.
I do. I learned a lot sitting next to him quite a few games this year.
You have to look up to talk to him because he's like 6'8".
I do. He's very much like Herman Munster. So he's a brilliant guy.
So John was trying to figure out, what's the deal with the OC job, because it came out during Middays with Marks that Brian Dable was going to take either the Bills head coaching job or the Titans offensive coordinator job, and the Eagles were off the table. This is one day after he interviewed, by the way. So what happened there? What happened in the interview process that all of a sudden he narrowed his search down to two teams, head coach job, which I understand, or offensive coordinator with Tennessee? Here was Brandon Lee Gowton talking about what the offensive coordinator candidates want.
But their candidate pool is going to be limited because some coaches want a lot of control and say, and they're just not going to have that when Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are running a very GM / owner-centric kind of team and not a head coach-centric team, with the exception of when Chip Kelly was here for a little bit, and obviously that didn't go so well. So applying that same kind of thing to the offensive coordinator dynamic, I think there's just certain things in place that are just going to be there, and not every candidate's going to be on board with that, and that therefore limits your candidate pool. That doesn't mean you can't get a good offensive coordinator, but it does mean you might not be able to get your number one or number two priorities, and it sounds like McDaniel and Dable were those guys.
Now, it's interesting because I see a comment from our man MBD on our YouTube chat. He said the reasons why for the offensive coordinator position it might not be as intriguing. He says it's a Thanksgiving plate of reasons.
Okay, so there's like a lot of crap on it.
He mentioned the quarterback.
Okay.
He mentioned the GM and the owner, as you just heard from Brandon Lee Gowton.
Okay, why would the owner and the GM, who are considered two of the best in the game, be a negative?
Well, here's why. Because ultimately what this comes down to me, the number one factor is egocentric. I think it's an ego thing. In Philadelphia, you're part of a system. Whether you're a Brian Dable or Mike McDaniel that gets to run your offense, or you're a guy that comes in to fit Nick Sirianni's scheme, you're going to be part of the Eagles. Whereas if you make Cam Ward great, you're the guy who fixed him. If you make Justin Herbert great, you're the guy that unlocked him. Here, the Eagles' tenure of success gives you less room to be the reason for the success.
Okay, Connor, and I honestly, that did not, that thought was not top of mind to me at all.
I'll also go, if I want to continue further tinfoil cap theory as to why. MBD mentions analytics department, right? What if there are things that the offensive coordinator does not like doing, but the analytics department, which the Eagles invest in, heavily,
they do.
Nick Sirianni and his studies, they push this on somebody that they might go, well, I don't believe in that. And you're going to make me call plays in situations that I don't believe. Or on 2nd and 11, you want me to run a draw, because that's what they did pretty much all season long. So could that be a part of it as well? The way they want their offensive run. Let's not forget that it wasn't that long ago that Jeffrey Lurie was upset with Doug Peterson after a win because they ran the ball too much. Now I think Lurie has opened his heart to steal his own terminology a little bit, because they ran the football a lot 2 years ago and won a Super Bowl. So I imagine Lurie's changed his opinion a little bit, but that wasn't that long ago. That was less than a decade ago, where the owner was upset after a win because of how they won. So maybe that has something to do with it too.
It could absolutely. What I would believe, though, is that working for Jeffrey Lurie and working with Howie Roseman is considered a huge asset.
That's how I view it.
He's in the league. I mean, everywhere you talk, when you talk to people around the NFL, they talk about Howie Roseman is just like he's a. What's that? What's the Star Wars thing? The Jedi people, like he's the
Jedi
master. Like, it's not considered a negative,
right? I don't know
that Howie Roseman.
One more clip for you from Brandon Lee Gowton yesterday. he was asked whether or not the quarterback is a factor.
Yeah, it's a factor. It's obviously not the only factor. I mean, the weather's pretty nice in California from what I hear, and I'm sure that has something to do with Mike McDaniel going there as well. Apparently his wife is also from there. So, there's a lot of layers and factors to this. But the quarterback's a big one, absolutely. And it's not like, is this quarterback good or not? Again, it kind of goes back to what I'm saying here about the ecosystem that the Eagles have here, where the quarterback has had a lot of say and typically does have a lot of say in this offense. So it's not even just like, do I like this guy or not? It's also, do I like what this guy wants or not? Because that's just going to be a big factor because the quarterback is very much empowered in this structure unless the Eagles change something.
So it's a bunch of reasons why. I still view this job as one that is extremely attractive because of the success of this organization.
It is.
But the more and more people talk, there's more and more layers as to why potentially somebody may not come here.
Can I tell you that Brian Dable was not offered the job the other day?
Right.
So, it's like nobody's been offered the job yet. It's the idea. So, nobody's turned down the Eagles yet.
Sure.
And Mike McDaniel didn't interview yet because Mike McDaniel was going to interview everywhere he was going to interview, and then he chose to take a job. So, it's like they're not getting turned down. I'm saying, the Eagles are getting turned down by people. They've not offered the job to anybody.
Yeah, but if Brian Dable took him off the list, isn't that kind of still turning down?
No, if Brian Dable says, hey, he's talking to everybody, how do you know he was on the Eagles list after the interview?
Good point.
We don't know that.
Good point.
They may have had the interview with him and said, nah, we like somebody else that we've talked to better.
And then the question is why? Because they can meddle.
They
can meddle with somebody else.
I didn't want him, so I'm happy. No, you see now you're looking at it as a negative. Yes. I'm looking at it as a positive.
All right, coming up next, we'll check the text line on today's topic. What's up with the offensive coordinator job? Also, I was not a happy camper yesterday, as you know, with the Phillies. I haven't been for a while. But John Kincade says he has 155 million reasons why I shouldn't be so down.
Uh-huh.
I'll find out next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles still searching. I'm Connor Thomas. The Eagles are still searching for their new offensive coordinator, but it appears another name is off the board. Diana Rossini reporting that Brian Dable will either end up as the Buffalo Bills head coach, or if that doesn't work out, the offensive coordinator of the Titans. So that's another name the Eagles were interested in that seems to no longer be available. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday, talked about the attractiveness of the Eagles offensive coordinator position.
I know the Eagles had a down season, relatively speaking, but I want to go and work with all that offensive talent. I'd want to go work with Jalen. Hey, Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. There's a lot of talent there. Let me go try that.
So Shefty believes it's an attractive job, but we'll see who ends up in that position. With championship weekend nearly here, the Birds will have to move quickly as their search continues. Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night out in Utah. They gave up a 3-goal lead in the game to allow Utah to force overtime. They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They are off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live right here on The Fanatic. Joel Embiid probable. Paul George listed as questionable for that game. Zach Berman joins us coming up at 8:05 to talk Eagles OC position. Andrew DeCecco talks all things Birds from 8 to 10 a.m. This update is brought to you by Aleve. Traffic and body pain can slow you down, but don't let the pain stop you. With just one pill, Aleve provides up to 12 hours of pain relief so you can keep moving. Use as directed. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the best Birds coverage. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It is 6:31 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. John Kincade has 155 million reasons why I should not be so down about the Phillies. We'll get to that.
I don't know if we're going to have time to get into all 155 million.
You'll try. You'll try.
We'll try.
But Connor, I want to check our text line. What is up with this vacant offensive coordinator job where the top candidates that the Eagles were immediately in on are not coming here, and that's okay. They may have just preferred different destinations, and so they went to different situations. But as time continues, now there's more and more reports about whether or not it's actually an attractive job. I can't believe that. I think that it is just because of the success this organization has, and those who have been successful as the OC have gone on to be head coaches elsewhere. But I also understand that if you're not that great, you get fired after year one, like Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo. What do we got on the text line?
Great news. Nobody has any idea. So we're all in the same spot at least.
And we all admit it.
Yeah, this texter says it's Sirianni. It's his attitude and demeanor that he's put out into the league and the soap opera that the 25 Eagles were and the uncertainty heading into this next season.
And the uncertainty to me, the biggest one is the roster. And I stand by it. Like, I wish we could have 20 minutes.
You think roster is the biggest?
Not knowing if the number one wide receiver will be on the team.
Sure. I can't buy that. Because look at what you'll still have. Like, I know A.J. Brown's a huge part of this. Lane Johnson's a huge part of this. But if you're telling me you could run an offense with the Super Bowl MVP from the most recent Super Bowl still, because we haven't gotten there yet this year, Saquon Barkley, what the offensive line could be, and you still have Jeff Stoutland to do that. I mean, there's still a lot of faith in him as a positional coach. Devontae Smith, I mean, that's better than 90% of the offenses in the league, even without AJ.
Yeah, but you know what? The Jeff Stoutland thing is also an interesting factor.
We brought that up here during the break, Connor, because we hadn't brought it up in the first segment, is that can be a hurdle for offensive coordinators who want to do their own thing, that you're inheriting a powerful figure like Jeff Stoutland who gets a lot of say and a lot of sway that you have to assuage to what he wants to do.
There's a lot of talk about how he wants to run the football to what he believes is best for his offensive line, which, look, by the way, I would listen to that, right? Like, I would listen to this highly successful offensive line coach that knows how to make the most out of an offensive line that at one point was considered the best in the National Football League.
Not anymore.
Right. And you know, is it because of injuries? Is it because of age? Is it because of conflicting opinions on how to run an offense, right? There could be a lot of issues as to why. But that could be something. The story was that Cliff Kingsbury years ago wanted to bring his own offensive line coach in, and that's why he was not given the OC job.
And I don't think that's a story. I mean, I think that's a legitimate
right.
That was what he wasn't going to do.
And look, more power to the Eagles for sticking with their guy. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that could be another hurdle.
Okay, could just play devil's advocate with you? You say more power to the Eagles for sticking with their guy. Is that necessarily?
Well, it's worked.
This is the
it has worked.
This is the outlier.
It absolutely has worked. But okay, has the offensive line been developing the reinforcements for the future?
I would say yes. This year was an anomaly. Think about what they've turned Jordan Mailata into, Landon Dickerson.
I think Jordan Mailata has honestly declined multiple years.
I thought he had one bad year.
Yeah, I thought he was really good last year. He was like the highest graded PFF guy for what that's worth.
And it's weird
in football last year.
It's weird as I didn't see that, but then again, that's what PFF says. I don't know.
He's not a football guy, John. Okay.
I didn't no, but they also said that you shouldn't have played Nick Foles.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't trust that.
I hate pro football folks.
No, but I mean, I honestly don't think that Jordan Mailata has played to a superior level 2 of the last 3 years. And to me, you're talking about that's his prime. These are his prime years. And he hasn't, to me, he hasn't played. These are the years that you should just be penciling him in and going, start him and forget about him.
I understand what you're saying there. And there's stuff to be desired on the offensive
What about
line.
a center?
But there's nobody out on the job market right now that is willing to say, I'll let them take over what Jeff Stoutland's done. There's nobody. That person doesn't exist.
Yeah, look, this was the worst year of it.
No, it was.
By far, right?
And again, I'm just being devil's advocate here, though. But if you're one of these offensive coordinators, there's a chance that Mike McDaniel didn't want to work with that.
Could be.
Because the run scheme, it's then dictated to the offensive coordinator that, well, here's how I want to run.
Right. It's another potential factor.
So then his playbook is then got a pair of handcuffs put on it. This is how we're going to have to run Saquon. Well, then I can't get too creative because it now limits how I use Saquon Barkley.
Sure.
That's why it's all to me ego. It all comes down to they want to run things the way they want to, and the Eagles have a strategy that they believe in more than they believe in.
And they've been successful with it, so they believe
Okay, do you too, though, when you say that, and Connor, when you use the word ego on it, I'm trying to decipher, do you say it with a negative connotation or do you say it with just a sort of a factual connotation?
Just factual, because I know that the Eagles have an ego when it comes to how they run things. Think about like Heat culture, right? Pat Riley's a winner in the NBA, but there are coaches that don't want to work for Pat Riley because of the way he's overbearing sometimes. Spoelstra a great fit. The Eagles have Eagle culture, and it works. But also these head coaching or offensive coordinator candidates that you're interviewing, they have egos of who they want to be.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't fit as well in Philadelphia as it might in Tennessee, for an example.
So, well, we're trying to figure out why this offensive coordinator job is sort of going the way that it is right now. 610-632-0975. That might be a $155 million question.
And Saleh, now I hear, too, that Saleh and, now this is crazy to me, Saleh and, Brian Dable would run into each other at the Equinox Fitness Club. Now, I'm shocked that Brian Dable was at the Equinox Fitness Club. I got to be honest with you. That they would bump into each other there. I can see Robert Saleh, really being into the Equinox Club, that they would run into each other frequently at there, and that they developed a relationship when they both coached in New York.
Sure.
So these two guys developed a friendly relationship when they knew each other as opposing New York coaches. And that is a big part, potentially, of him wanting to go there, is that maybe they talked.
By the way, their coaching strategy will be what Doug and Jim Schwartz had.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh's going to be he's the head coach, but he's going to be the defensive head coach.
Right.
Whereas Brian Dable, former head coach, will be the offensive coach.
You do your thing, I do my thing.
I think it's like a Jim Schwartz thing. Because Doug had nothing to do with the defense in 2017. Nothing, right? And Jim Schwartz had nothing to do with the offense. All right, you're going to try to make me feel better. Go ahead.
I'm going to make you feel better with 155 million reasons. Connor said something this morning. I'll take people behind the scenes. Connor said something at one point to Andrew before the show and was like, Andrew, what's it going to take to put a smile on your face? Seriously. Like, what's it going to – because you're really sort of being a drag right now what's going on.
I said a beer during a snowstorm on Sunday.
Okay, well, that's definitely something that could. But
because I told you guys dry January ends Sunday if I'm staying at a hotel with you guys.
So, Connor, you're the golden retriever of our group here, so, the happy camper here. So you really believe Middleton and the Phillies were all in on Bichette and everything like that, right? You're totally bought in.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that means they have $155 million that the owner was willing to commit to spend. That's left to be spent because they gave $45 million of it to JT. So there's $155 million. That means they've got a ton of flexibility. And Andrew, listening to you over the years when we didn't work together, you were always willing, even though on the air you would always say you didn't especially like it, but you were always willing to play I'll see what this Sixers team looks like at the trade deadline.
Okay.
So what you're going to have to do with this Phillies team is say they have one of the highest odds to get to the National League Championship Series. They have one of the better odds to get to the World Series out of the National League. And the owner already signed off on committing $200 million to this payroll that a lot of us didn't know that was going to be there. Now, you got to subtract what JT made. So it's really not $200 million, but just for sake. That means he was significantly going to upgrade this payroll this year. So that means they will take big swings on acquiring players and acquiring contracts if need be, of expiring contracts of players, veteran guys that they can go
Dave
and get.
Dombrowski doesn't believe in that.
Dave
Dombrowski wants to trade for guys that they can have control over.
Dave Dombrowski, I believe, is like sands through the hourglass. I believe Dave Dombrowski's time is wandering closer and closer to watching, the Tennessee Titans.
Sure.
During the offseason, watch them play football.
Yeah, he wants to, but then he traded for Harrison Bader on an expiring deal. They had the mutual option thing, but
sure.
So he will do it.
He will do it. And it wasn't, but the thing is the owner played, we do know one thing. John Middleton publicly played his hand that there was $200 million more they were willing to spend Now they threw $45 million of it at aging JT Realmuto. They sent it right to a place for mom, by the way. They wired it right over there.
Yeah,
right?
they could spend the money. They might not spend it smart.
No, they may not. No, they may not. But what it says to you is they will be aggressive. They will go and do things. They were willing to be aggressive and spend.
So what you're saying is I have to wait until July.
No, but it's there. They showed you their cards a little bit. They're willing to go for it to make sure the 26 isn't wasted.
How about this? It better happen.
I understand. No, I'm with you, brother in arms on that.
It better happen.
But the regular season doesn't matter for this team anyway. So let's just wait.
Well, it might this year.
It's a tough division.
It's no lock that they're walking their way into the playoffs.
Yes.
That's fair.
Coming up next, who is the latest candidate for the vacant OC job? Well, it didn't come with a ton of excitement on the timeline yesterday. That, and I want to ask about Aaron Nola's cooking. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
mind.
All right, 647 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Before we talk about one of the more latest offensive coordinator positions or candidates for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was announced yesterday that Team Italy was able to sign another player for the World Baseball Classic. Phillies right-handed pitcher Aaron Nola.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Where's he out of Sicily?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So, like, I understand the World Baseball Classic tries to get their rosters, and they need bodies, right? And so Aaron Nola, I looked up his Wikipedia page. The furthest back his ancestry is shown is his maternal grandfather, Richard Barrios, which is of Spanish descent.
Close enough.
and he was actually the sergeant at arms for the Louisiana House of Representatives. So this goes.
So Nola is a Barrios?
I don't.
Is Barrios is in it? Because my wife and her in the 23 and the family tree thing. There's a Barrios in her background.
Maybe
So
you're somehow related to Aaron Nola.
No, she is.
Right.
I don't want it.
So
No, she is.
I wonder, like, how does he have good gravy? Like,
Name ends in a vowel.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where I've never heard him talk about his Italian heritage.
Okay, you guys are
once.
talking about this. You're burying the frickin' lead.
That you're upset that he's pitching.
This guy
it?
couldn't
Of
come to
course you
work
are.
last year. He couldn't come to work
It's
for
the
what?
Joel Embiid story all over.
He couldn't
again.
come to work for what? 2.5, 3 months?
Oh, he was hurt.
And yes. And now he's going to go pitch in some tournament that has nothing to do with anything
He's stretching
with
his
his
arm out.
job. How much is he being paid this year by the Phillies?
A lot of money.
He's stretching his arm out, John.
Stop it.
Get him
You
going.
no. You stretch your arm out in spring training. That's what he's there for in Clearwater at the little country club that they run down there. This is freaking ridiculous that he's going and doing this. This makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. His first obligation is to earn the paycheck that he didn't earn last year when he sat out half the year. And when he didn't sit it out, he was atrocious. And for him to then go pitch in this tournament because he can, because the Phillies can't make him not do it, is stupid.
I think
Absolutely
it's a cool event,
stupid.
and I think the guys competing.
I
Yeah,
love
it's a
the
cool
world, I
event.
love the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
understand where you're.
It's stupid.
All right, hold on.
It's
Hold
his
on.
job.
That's not stupid. I understand your frustration
No, it's
considering
stupid
his
that he's doing
injury
it.
because if we're keeping it 100, I was the same way about Joel Embiid playing for the Olympics. So
Yes.
I understand. But to say the World Baseball Classic is stupid.
It's
I think you're wrong.
stupid what he's doing.
Right, what he's doing.
You're taking what I'm saying and you're saying something different. What's stupid
Well,
is
I know
him
you're
doing
not a big
this.
World Baseball Classic
No,
guy.
the World
You've talked
Baseball
about
Classic has not been what they thought it would be. They thought it would be this big thing, and it wasn't.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, it's a big thing.
No, it is not.
Last time they had this was incredible.
No,
You
it's
had
been-
Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani to end it in a monster matchup.
It's great, and it still didn't really even move the needle.
I don't believe that's true.
Well,
at
for
all.
you, it did. It didn't really move the needle the way they thought it would. It has not created this
What are
iconic
you
thing that
basing
they
that
thought
on?
it would be.
Because I saw it all over the place.
2023 was the most watched. The Italy versus Japan was the most watched baseball game in history.
That would be moving the needle.
So that's it.
You're talking about the whole world.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The
we're
World
talking
Baseball
about
Classic.
Well, we're talking what it meant here. I'm not talking about I don't care what it means in Italy. I don't care what it means in Japan. I don't want to that doesn't mean anything.
You said
to
it didn't move the needle as
me.
the
No, what I'm
most
saying is
watched baseball
here.
game in history.
I'm talking about here.
Okay, well then say
it does.
that.
They thought it would be here. They thought it would be an exciting thing that people would be all over it here. People haven't been. People aren't hanging on everything about the World
I don't think the
Baseball Classic.
decision was made for the United States of America. I think the decision was made for the sport of baseball.
Oh no, it is, and it's the self-indulgent thing for Aaron Nola to go pitch for Italy when he couldn't show up for his job last year.
That I agree with.
Well, that is all I'm saying is stupid. That's stupid is that you have players. And by the way, Christopher Sanchez may be the most critical player to the Phillies' chances in 2026. Said that he had no interest in pitching and wasn't going to pitch, and now is going to pitch.
Yeah, because they got eliminated
they
in the first round of the playoffs.
No, they bullied him. That's not the reason.
Hang on.
He got bullied by people back in his country to pitch.
Is Ohtani playing for Japan?
I don't know what he's playing.
Yeah. Is Scooble pitching for the
Yeah.
USA?
Yeah.
Is Skeens?
Yeah,
Like,
all these guys.
Everyone's playing. It is what you got to accept it at this point.
Bryce Harper's playing, even though he had the wrist
Well, yeah,
injury.
that's great. Yeah, it's great.
Well,
Good,
they're-
good. I'm glad to see it.
But they're playing. By the way, I just
Glad to see
I
it. Was
did-
Scooble hurt last year?
No, but
Was
neither
Ohtani hurt last
Sanchez,
year?
And you're worried about Sanchez.
Was Ohtani hurt last year?
Well, he was coming off of an arm injury.
Yeah, he
Yes.
kind of was.
Yes. There's what I'm saying. Was he pitching? No, he wasn't. He was just hitting.
No, he
He hit. I thought he
pitched.
just hit. Did he?
Ohtani-
I thought he only pitched a couple
against,
innings.
he pitched against the Phillies in
Yeah.
the playoffs.
No. In the World Baseball Classic.
No, he pitched.
No, in
Last
the
time
World
he
Baseball Classic, he did not.
Did
He just
not
hit.
pitch. Look.
Oh,
it's-
no, he had to
No,
because
if
he
you-
pitched
he
against
literally
Trout.
struck out Mike
He says-
No, you're right.
But I only thought he pitched a couple innings. Maybe I'm wrong. If there is a player that is this critical, and first of all, Christopher Sanchez says he was not pitching, and now he is. So it's just like hey, wish for the best. Just like it didn't hurt you with Ranger a few years ago. Ranger goes, and then he's injured.
I can't wait. I love the World Baseball Classic. By the way, reading more, Nola's great-grandparents actually immigrated from Sicily. To
I nailed it with Sicily,
to
too?
Baton Rouge.
Very good.
So his great on his father's side.
Now the thing is, Baton Rouge is not. That's not really where the Italians go. That's where the French go.
That's
That's wild.
they like the weather. What do I know? All right, Matt Nagy is the most recent candidate for the vacant offensive coordinator position, and nobody seemed excited about that one on social media.
Oh my gosh! I said no.
Yeah,
No. Might as well call Doug Peterson or Frank Reich.
I think the only reason why some people were excited about it was the experience. And there's a lot of people that want like an experienced offensive coordinator in the NFL.
An experienced guy who has literally nobody given him the chance to, has not given him the chance to do it again. Like he's not even calling plays again. Not many guys go from head coach. Many go back to being an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Not many go back to not even being able to call plays again. I mean, honestly, we're shopping at the Andy Reid dollar store now of assistant coaches. Might as well go looking at Doug Peterson or Frank Reich if you're looking at Nagy. I'm not in the least bit interested.
Yeah, when I saw it yesterday, I was like, all right, is this just another interview or are things not going the way they want it to, so they have to interview him? Like, I don't know. Like,
Is it a
that's not a I'm excited hot. Like,
No, I couldn't be less excited about
right,
Matt
like
Nagy.
that's the thing. Like, when I saw that report, I was just like, I wish this report came out 2 weeks ago when they were first lining up their interviews. It almost seems like, oh, wait, he's available?
And by the way, Andy and them are parting ways. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and I'm Googling, I'm doing my research. He's 47. I thought he was my age. I really thought the years have been tough. And it's been tough working for Andy Reid and everything.
Well, Chicago Winters.
That doesn't help either.
It's tough.
Look, I thought like if his name popped up the first week, I'd be like, all right, this is nothing. But it popped up yesterday because a couple of the guys
He doesn't even call plays
a couple
anymore.
of guys that they clearly wanted didn't come here, and now they're continuing to search, and his name pops up. That better than Petula, but I don't know how much that's saying. All right, coming up next. We'll check our text line on our Eagles discussion. What is up with this vacant offensive coordinator job? Why do you think it's taking this long and some of the top candidates decide not to pick the Eagles? Also, I want to open up a discussion that is about you, us, and how we all react to sports talk. The anger that is out there over sports, Johnny. But you know what? Yesterday, I saw that there was still good in humanity. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Another name off the board. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are still looking for their new offensive coordinator, but it appears another name is off the board of potential candidates. Diana Rossini reported yesterday that Brian Dable is either going to end up as the Bills head coach or the Tennessee Titans offense coordinator, essentially taking him out of the running for the Eagles OC position. Brandon Lee Gouton of Bleeding Green Nation talked yesterday on Middays with Marks about the attractiveness of the Eagles offense coordinator job.
But their candidate pool is going to be limited because some coaches want a lot of control and say, and they're just not going to have that. That doesn't mean you can't get a good offensive coordinator, but it does mean you might not be able to get your number one or number two priorities, and it sounds like McDaniel and Dable were those guys.
Clearly, there's limitations here with how the Eagles do their business. Maybe not a bad thing, but certainly something that has to be considered as they continue to try and find their next OC. The Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night, gave up a 3-goal lead in the game to allow Utah to force that overtime. They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They're off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid is probable. Paul George listed is questionable. You can hear that game live right here on The Fanatic. Zach Berman joins us coming up at 8:05. Andrew DeCecco will be with us from the 8 o'clock hour to the end of the show. This update is brought to you by Uber Eats. Phil, you hungry? Good thing Uber Eats has a great deal waiting for you at Chickies and Pete's. From now until February 15th, spend $30 and get 6 weeks free on the app. Order now only on Uber Eats. Terms apply. See app for details. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You guessed it with me, John Marks. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. Let's get back to more of Kincade Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. It is 7 o'clock here on Kincade Salciunas on this Thursday morning. Andrew DeCecco will join us in studio for the entire 8 and 9 o'clock hours today. Always enjoy our conversations with Andrew DeCecco. We can try to get to the bottom of what's going on with this offensive coordinator search for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, we read the tweet from Zach Berman at the beginning of the show this morning, and we have Zach coming on at 8:05. So not only will we have a football guy, Andrew DeCecco, in studio and Andrew Salciunas in studio.
You're not a football guy.
We'll also have Zach Berman on the phone at 8:05. And Zach Berman put this tweet out yesterday around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nick Sirianni has been flexible throughout this OC search. My understanding is that autonomy has not been an issue early in the process, and he's been open-minded regarding names like Mike McDaniel and Brian Dable. There might be more rigidity with some elements on the roster, like Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, but there's also ambiguity about key spots on the roster. A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson. Those are factors in how the offense is going to look under a new offensive coordinator. And the part that you and I both caught was the understanding that autonomy has not been an issue early in the process. For guys like McDaniel and Brian Dable, they're both off the table. McDaniel's already with the Chargers. Brian Dable's already informed them it's either the Bills or the Tennessee Titans. So the fact that those two guys are off the table, everybody else that's a candidate has not screamed like top of the list.
I'm going to, yeah, exactly. Like
this is Slowicks.
I'm going to be able to demand anything or those lines.
And so now you're wondering, all right, well, if one of these guys come in, is it still they're running an offense under the umbrella of Nick Sirianni and what the Philadelphia Eagles want to do? And then to further it, the A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson thing, I do believe is a big factor because I would like to know if the number one receiving threat is going to be playing or not.
Well, look how bad the Eagles were without Lane Johnson this year. Was 3-5 when he went out?
3-5. And then the playoff loss, so 3-6.
That's
ultimately.
bad. That's bad.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been the Lane Johnson era, right? Lane Johnson
It has been. He's been.
They're 15 and like 30 something.
They're not good without
when
Lane.
he doesn't play. So that's a big factor. And oh, by the way, you're going to draft his replacement this year, I would imagine. But is the replacement 1-2 years down the road, or is the replacement starting week 1? I don't know. Like, is Lane? You mentioned it. We don't know what Lane Johnson's mindset is. Lane Johnson may say, I don't want to go through this again.
I'm wondering big time. And honestly, it's been so quiet. It makes me wonder because it was supposed to be Lane Johnson's going to do at least a few more years.
Right.
Now dead silence.
We're either going to hear retirement or Lane Johnson's restructured his contract because that's been
one of the two.
That's been one of the two every single year that Lane Johnson restructures the contract.
Gosh, I'm telling you that the biggest bummer of the offseason to me would be Lane Johnson stepping away. Because that would be the biggest gut punch as far as this team staying ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Because they've shown that without him, things have been a mess. And by the way, that's sort of on, again, I'm a huge fan of his work. But that's on Stoutland.
It is a Hall of Famer down to whoever you put out there. And Fred Johnson's actually
okay, but you go from being, well, we say that, but the team doesn't win without him.
Sure.
Doesn't win without Lane. And one player being out, this team wins without A.J. Brown being in the lineup.
Not often.
No, the offense did really, really well. The offense moved. The offense moved well. The offense managed to do really, really well. You had two guys like when you have A.J. Brown out, you can find ways to get Devontae steps up, Dallas Goedert steps up. We don't even know if Dallas Goedert's going to be here. There's a lot of questions. Dallas Goedert, how many people do you think are asking about Dallas Goedert?
You know how I feel.
This is the first time we've mentioned him at 7:04.
Yeah, and he's a free agent.
How many people are mentioning, do you think, going, hey, is the guy who had, 12 touchdowns?
Yeah. Is he going to be available? And
is he back?
And again, I love Shefty, but when he kind of scoffed at that question yesterday, I was like,
Speaking of Shefty, we have a little bit of news, not enough for the breaking news sounder, but another name off the board. Buccaneers are finalizing a deal to hire Falcons offensive coordinator Zach Robinson as their offensive coordinator.
Thank Kevin.
I am happy about that news, but that's another candidate that the Eagles were intrigued by.
No, but I'm
No, I agree.
No, you know what, though? It's another candidate that the Eagles interviewed. I think is the key.
Okay.
He said, we don't know how intrigued they were.
Well, then what about Matt Nagy that just popped up yesterday?
I'm like, thank God. Well, another guy that they interviewed.
Maybe he was just in the area.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
If you're around.
He wanted a cheesesteak.
Stop by.
Okay, I'll say it now. I said it before, is that every person that I spoke to around the Falcons was like, yeah, you don't want Zach Robinson.
Yeah.
You don't want to hire Zach Robinson. That's not going to make you happy. I can hear you now. If Zach Robinson's hire.
Well,
so I'm like, okay,
that's
good
news for
that
us.
makes me happy.
All right, give us a text message, Connor. What's up with the vacant offensive coordinator job for the Eagles? Why doesn't it seem as intriguing as I think we all think it is because of the success of this organization? But the top two guys don't come here. Now, they have their reasons why. But why is it that it seems like it might not be as attractive as we thought? 610-632-0975.
No, I was geeking out because last segment we were talking about Aaron Nola pitching for Italy, and someone said, "Watch out for the ravioli fourth inning." Which
that's excellent.
Had me almost crying.
Okay, that's
a great joke.
Okay,
that's top tier.
Wait a minute, didn't we have something to give away today? If we find something to give away today,
we do have Sixers tickets.
I don't know that we're gonna have anything better than that. That is fantastic.
Do you want to just give that guy a pair of tickets?
I
think ravioli fourth inning gets a pair of tickets.
That is fantastic.
Because we have two pairs. We have two pairs of Sixers-Knicks tickets.
That's fantastic.
Sixers-Knicks, 3 p.m. this Saturday, January 24th at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. Get single-game tickets at Sixers.com. See how it pays off to text the show? You can send a random text.
Okay, that is
and win Sixers tickets.
That is a fantastic text.
that guy or gal wins.
I was dying. I didn't hear like the first 2 minutes of the segment because I was trying not to cry laughing.
Okay, that is fantastic.
And the low-hanging fruit joke is he's going to be tossing meatballs. That is a next level.
Whoa! That's really
steal the
really
good
great.
material.
No, but that's next level. Ravioli fourth inning is next level. That's
great.
And that's a diehard Phillies fan who watches almost every single night and understands the pain of the Rav fourth inning.
That is really.
Well, make sure they get their
Yeah, there's layers to that.
Okay,
like a good
I love
lasagna.
that. By the way, I didn't mean to jump the tickets there, but
We have
That's-
two
That's
pairs.
fine.
That's
we got another
good.
pair. No, I'm happy to give gifts to people for
That is really good.
for contributing that way. What else
Now,
we got?
back to the matter at hand. Chris from Northeast Philly says, I think a big factor in the offensive coordinator position is Jalen Hurts. For instance, Dable coached Hurts in college. He already has a working knowledge of Hurts. So why does he not want to work with him continuing? To John's point of having to break bad habits potentially out of Hurts or having a clean slate with Cam Ward, I think there are multiple reasons, but Hurts is the largest
All right, so
one.
here's a big talking point
I don't believe
that
it.
people that cover football, more than just us reacting to it, and that's going to lead us actually into our next discussion, which I can't wait for. People that cover football tell you that Jalen Hurts is very college-run offense, right?
yes.
Brian Dable could get the most out of Jalen Hurts because he has been an offensive coordinator in the college ranks. He understands what worked in Alabama. He knows how to run a college offense, but maybe Brian Dable doesn't want to run a college offense.
I will tell you that Bobby Slowick, it's something that worries me about Bobby Slowick, who I really would love here. The passing guy from Texans is that he got into it with C.J. Stroud.
Over college.
Because C.J. Stroud kept saying, well, at Ohio State we did this, at Ohio State we did that. And he literally got in his face, got in his face and said, hey, we're not at effing Ohio State anymore. This is the NFL. I don't care what you did at Ohio State. We do things differently here. And to me, that's something to watch for.
Absolutely. All right, so it's funny how some things just perfect transition. When I said this isn't us speaking, it's people that cover the league talking about how Jalen Hurts runs a college offense.
Okay.
All right. If I said that, somebody out there might get upset because there are big fans of Jalen Hurts.
Sure, absolutely. And there should be big fans of Jalen Hurts.
Of
We
course.
understand that.
So yesterday on social media, I put out a tweet, and first and foremost, I want to thank a lot of the responses to my tweet. You saw a lot of them, Connor. I know you did as well. Obviously, you're going to get a couple of the faceless trolls that just want to complain and don't give like an actual reason.
Yeah.
It's just screw you, I hate you guys, which that's fine because that's life. It's nothing. I've been here 11 years. It's nothing that I haven't seen yet on social media when it comes to doing this job. So I put out a tweet yesterday around 4 o'clock, hoping to start a Phillies sports/media dialogue here. I want to read answers on the air tomorrow, so this morning. And I was saying, strictly speaking for us here on Kincade Salciunas.
Absolutely, just us.
I can't speak for Middays with Marks, can't speak for Unfiltered, can't speak for other radio stations.
No, we don't speak for other radio stations.
Can't speak for TV, can't speak for writers, can't speak for anybody. I was speaking for Kincade and Salciunas, but a lot of the stuff that we see, I imagine a lot of the other people that I just mentioned also see the same things on social media. There seems to be so much anger recently over opinions and even questions. And I want to know why. Because sometimes it's just we're asking a question and people get upset. Like, why are you even asking that question? Us asking the question today, why is the offensive coordinator position seemingly not as attractive as what we all thought? We think it's an attractive job. I immediately saw this morning on our YouTube channel some pushback on it. Oh, instead of just talking about the offensive coordinators, you have to talk about why it's not that attractive. Well, why aren't the top candidates coming here?
If it was, look, the job was, you saw Mike McDaniel run to L.A.
Right.
Now, there are reasons.
Sure, absolutely.
His wife's from there, things like that. But why is it when you have an opportunity? Zach Robinson, why is he going there? And I do not believe the Eagles offered the job to Zach Robinson. So
Right.
I don't believe that he had the opportunity to come
Sure.
there. But there's questions about these things. And by the way, asking questions is dialoguing. At what point, it's so incredible because we, as a society, we've come to the point where people just don't want to dialogue.
Sports have become politics for a lot of
They
people.
don't, and
where
it
it's,
is.
I'm right, you're
It
wrong.
is.
I hate
I'm right,
you.
you're wrong. Yeah.
So I actually went to the notes page because I don't have a blue check mark. I refuse to pay for free social
You
media.
put up a Notes app post?
I did.
Damn.
I did, and I'll read it to you.
That's
Okay,
serious.
All
let's
right.
hear this.
We do our show each morning reacting to games, news, and reports on players and coaches and all things sports in Philadelphia. When a report is negative or something that we all wish isn't true, we cannot avoid it. We have to talk about it. For example, A.J. Brown's reported trade requests. Speaking for myself, and I will speak for John, and I will speak for Connor, none of us want him traded.
No, we reiterate that at the beginning of every conversation. I'm always clear to, like I say, hey, just to make sure, let's set this up. Because the clickbaiters will want to say, look at these guys are talking about. No, we always make it clear. Here's what we're talking about, but let make our position known.
Now, because we don't want it to happen, does not mean that the reports aren't true.
That is correct.
So, again, when Joe Santoliquito puts out his report the other day, there were a lot of people that were angry saying this can't be true. Adam Schefter confirmed it with us yesterday on the show that he wanted out during the season last year. Even though we may not want to believe it, you got to admit that it was true.
It's been confirmed by the NFL's top insider, whether you like it or not.
Right. And I don't like it.
And Joe Santoliquito once again is being confirmed by the best in the business.
So I continued. I said, if you are someone who gets upset with us talking about it, which we have to, or asking a reporter about it, why? I saw somebody upset with you yesterday on social media that you were asking Adam Schefter as to why there may have been this disconnect with A.J. Brown. Oh, here we go, trying to make something out of nothing. Well, there's something there, and we have to ask it, right?
I had people asking me. I had a professor say to me yesterday that I was bullying Schefter into an answer he didn't want to give. And I said to him, with all due respect, sir, I said I was getting to the answer. I do not believe, and I said it to Adam's face.
You did, on the air.
Adam, are you telling me that you didn't ask the follow-up question of, well, why is he upset?
Right.
If someone said to me, hey, Connor wants off the morning show, my first question is, why?
Right.
Sean Rodman.
And I don't believe for a
Yesterday
second.
was me.
I do not
switch.
I do not believe for a second that at some point someone did not say anything. Now, listen to Adam's answer, and I went back yesterday to listen. I don't remember what somebody said to me. I can't remember what somebody told me. I'm not going to call him a liar because I've known Adam since 1999.
Right.
So I'm not going to call him a liar. He says he doesn't remember. I have to take him at his word. I would remember that.
Yeah.
And I told this professor, I said, I would remember that. And he goes, you were badgering the witness. I said, okay, that's what you think. I said, I think it was my duty to drill down to that.
So I asked, why is there so much anger over questions, reaction? And I understand. I also mentioned, look, when it comes to opinions and debate, if it is a negative opinion, like me saying the Eagles have a 0% chance of going to the Super Bowl,
right?
I understand why that would piss somebody off, right? Because you're fans. I'm a fan. It's just I do this for a living, so I have to talk about what I'm truly feeling and give my opinion.
And that was what you were feeling.
Yeah.
I think it was a little over the top.
Sure.
But you articulated it, and we dialogued on it.
Yeah, no, I didn't just say it like they have a 0% chance because Jalen Hurts sucks.
And we articulated.
Okay?
And I kept badgering the two of you.
Right.
Like explain it to me why. How can you say 0%? Come on, 5% maybe. If you said to me 20%, I'd get it. But we dialogued on these things.
So I asked why, just why, and I was so happy with the responses that I got because there were some people saying because you guys do this, right? And I'm fine with it. It's feedback, right? We do sessions with
absolutely.
our boss every Monday, right? We get feedback every Monday from our boss, right? So I get it. So Colin Berger, who's one of our great listeners, he's active on our YouTube chat as well.
What's up, Colin?
He and many others said something to the extent, and I'll read his tweet word for word. When work gets monotonous or life gets heavy, a lot of us turn to hobbies to keep some zest in our days, to distract ourselves from the grind and the stress we deal with regularly. Sports and sports radio are part of that escape. Hobbies are supposed to be enjoyable and at least in some way uplifting. When the Phillies fall short, it stings for a day, but I still value the summer nights, the wins, and the games I got to attend along the way. When the Eagles didn't meet expectations a year after winning the Super Bowl, I found myself focusing more on how incredible that championship run felt and recognizing that plenty of fans never get to experience that at all. Life goes on when the season ends. And then he basically continued saying, I don't want to hear negative talk when I already have enough negative stuff that goes on in my life. And I get that. But what I also had to respond with is, well, sports isn't always positive.
Yeah, like here's what I don't get with that though is that you're supposed to so you're supposed to do a show that doesn't deal with any negative.
He
stuff?
didn't tell us how to do our job.
No, but
He
I'm
said
saying
that's why there is the reaction, because there is already enough crap in life.
Okay, I wanted to make that clear.
Yeah,
okay.
no, he's not saying.
Oh, okay, I want to make that
There
clear.
was somebody that asked if we could do like a Positivity Monday, and I said, well, what if there was bad news Saturday, Sunday? Like, I can't. We can't come in on the air Monday and say, hey, forget that Eagles lost to the 49ers. It's Positivity Monday. Let's only talk about the positives. And there was a lot of great responses from people yesterday. One of my favorites that I want to read to you, because we actually came to terms with exactly what he's talking about. Somebody brought up like sort of the spouse issue. Mikhail, we are overly attached to these teams and players. We spend hundreds of hours of our lives on them. So it feels like betrayal when somebody wants to leave. It's like a girl you love cheating on you and not wanting to believe it, so you make up every excuse in the book for them. So I responded to Mikhail saying, so what you're telling me is we're the friend that's telling you about the boyfriend or girlfriend that has issues, and you don't like us for what we're saying because you don't want to believe it.
God, I think that's a great analogy.
And Mikhail responded with, that's exactly it.
That is an incredible analogy.
So people see that sometimes sports sucks, but they don't want to believe it. And our jobs is to talk about, we do today's talk show. It's the here and now. Reminiscing about the Eagles Super Bowl 11 months ago is not today. Talking about why this past season went wrong is today. Trying to get back to another Super Bowl is tomorrow or today, because we're talking about the vacant offensive coordinator job. And it's not exactly what he wants to hear. So we're the good friend
who's telling him what he doesn't want to hear.
But he doesn't want to hear.
Can I say something to you though? Is that and going on that thread? It was very fascinating. You're going to get to more of those. You're going to get to more of what people had to say yesterday, which I thought was interesting. The part that really bothered me though, is a couple people was like, people are making stuff up.
Right.
It is the dumbest thing that I hear from people on social media all the time. The Joe Santoliquito story. Has A.J. Brown discounted it?
No.
Has Howie Roseman discounted it? Have the Eagles organization discounted it? Have any Eagles beat writers discounted it?
No.
Adam Schefter, the top NFL insider in the business, confirmed it.
Right.
Folks, it happened. Whether you want to believe it happened or not, whether in your like, you want to just shake the pom-poms for A.J. Brown and be like, no, they're making stories up. Let me assure you of this. You do not walk into a locker room or a clubhouse as a media member making stories up. First thing that happens is the organization would go to grab your credential. They would try to ban you from their clubhouse, ban you from their locker room if you're making stories up.
Yeah.
Second of all, the players will ban against you so fast it would make your head swim. They will ban against you. They will absolutely have it out with you, where you will be, and you'll be shunned too by other members in your business.
Sure.
Yeah, but let's remember the history of the city with this team. Not that long ago, there was a report that was unfounded that led to a very fan-favorite player ending up not being with the organization. Sometimes one is all it takes, and then people who went through the Deshaun Jackson stuff will no longer have that benefit of the doubt given to people, rightfully or wrongfully. So some people are scarred from stuff like that.
And look, it's a great point.
Right, yes. Or some would say to degrees that people say that report stories. To degrees, people overblow stories. People talk about stories to degrees that they shouldn't be talking about.
Yeah, like largely people are reporting the truth, and there are some guys who are always reporting the truth. But when you have that one break in faith, and then some people apply that to media as a whole, I can understand why people are skeptical.
And when that story happened, what I would say to you is, you had various members of the media come out against it and say that it wasn't true and report that they saw that as a false report. Nobody is saying that anything around A.J. Brown is a false report. So that's the difference. When the thing happened with Deshaun Jackson, there were many media members who came out and said immediately and said, that is not my reporting, that is not my thing, and discounted it. That's the difference. Nobody is discounting the A.J. Brown reports because anybody who has a credential, anybody who's around the team knows that stuff was going on with A.J. Brown all year long.
All right, so coming up next, it's not going to be Delilah Radio all day here on Kincade and Salciunas, but I want to continue to read some of the responses that I got on Twitter. We're getting some responses on social or on our YouTube chat as well that I want to go through. Like, why is there so much anger over opinions or even questions or asking a reporter a question about a topic that's being discussed nationally? Let's figure this out. 610-632-0975. We'll check that coming up next. Also, speaking of A.J. Brown, which kind of got this conversation started because that's where a lot of people are angry right now, a 0% chance he's back? That's what one reporter says. Find out next. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dable out for OC. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are still looking for their new offensive coordinator. The market continues to thin. Diana Rossini reporting yesterday that Brian Dable will either end up as Bills head coach or Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. Neither of those deals are done, but that is the expectation, which means he'd be out for Eagles OC. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday, and he talked about the still attractive job that the Eagles have open.
I know the Eagles had a down season, relatively speaking, but, I want to go and work with all that offensive talent. I'd want to go work for Jalen. Hey, Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. There's a lot of talent there. Let me go try that.
And in theory, it makes sense, but in practice, well, the Eagles haven't hired anybody yet. How much is that a factor we continue to discuss? The Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night. They gave up a 3-goal lead in the game to allow Utah to force overtime, lost in that OT period, and they've now lost 7 of their last 8. They're off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid is probable for the game. Paul George questionable. You can hear that live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Zach Berman joins us coming up at 8:05 for his thoughts on the Eagles OC position. Andrew DeCecco will do the same from the 8 o'clock hour till the end of the show. This update's brought to you by the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. It's happening again. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship Saturday, February 7th. Knucklemania 6 taking over Xfinity Mobile Arena, and everyone's coming. Get your tickets at bkfc.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Best Birds coverage. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic.
7 a.m. hours brought to you by the BetParks online casino and sportsbook app. Live bet sports on the BetParks app. Play all your favorite casino games. There's always another way to win on the BetParks online casino and sportsbook. Got to be 21 in Pennsylvania, Jersey, or Maryland. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we'll get back to playing Delilah Radio here on Kincade Salciunas momentarily. By the way, she's still doing it. Good for her. That's
I did not know that.
What is that? I don't understand that reference.
You don't know Delilah?
Delilah's like
She's a national syndicated radio station.
Love, and music.
People
and...
write in letters about their spouses, and she reads them on the air. And then this song's for
this
you.
Fall,
nice.
Connor is Connor's deployed. Connor's deployed, and he wants to make sure that Sam knows that how much she's loved.
I'm on my
back
second
home.
tour of duty with Kincade and Salciunas.
Yeah, damn right.
I got these scars.
By the way, Michael checks in on our YouTube chat. Andrew has some unresolved issues talking about because I always use relationship analogies. No.
Why?
I'm very happy in my marriage.
You got a good relationship.
I just feel like relationship is probably one that we can all see eye to eye on when it comes.
We can all understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why. All right. I'm very happily married. All right. Trust me. Okay. Before we get to
and you do exactly what you're told every day, which is great.
Damn right. Before we get to some more responses on social media and our YouTube chat about why there is so much anger when it comes to sports and hearing an opinion that you don't like, so you get pissed off by it and you say things on social media that you go, wow, that's a lot. Brand,
did you just say that's
a lot? Yeah, because there are times where I read things, I'm like, wow, okay, that's
a lot.
Man,
there's some angry people.
You're very upset.
There's some really angry people out there.
And look, I get it. You're defending your team, but sometimes I wonder what's the line, and sometimes people cross it. A lot of this conversation stems from the A.J. Brown stuff, right? Because the report comes out, and there's a lot of people that are upset that we're even talking about it. And so Brandon Lee Gowton yesterday was on with Middays with Marks, and Johnny asked him straight up, hey, what are the percentage chances that A.J. Brown is on the Eagles next season?
I think there's a 0% chance he's back. From a standpoint of, we just said it, he's been asking for a trade. He clearly does not look emotionally invested in being here anymore. I think it's a stretch to be like, oh, they hire a new offensive coordinator, and that changes AJ's mind entirely. I mean, I just don't buy it. I think it's too far gone, and it's not ideal. And it's not what I want personally. If I'm saying what's best for the Eagles, I don't think the Eagles get better by trading A.J. Brown. There comes a point in time where it's the reality that's in front of you, and you can wish for it to be different, but that's not going to change the cold hard facts. And I just think it's kind of too far gone with AJ at this point.
That's the amazing thing about this conversation, because again, I'm not picking on people. People are upset that the report's there, right? Oh my God, media's going to try to run him out of town, all that kind of stuff.
If he's run out of town, he's the one who bought the ticket.
But
he's the one who booked it.
But everybody that is a Eagles fan, media member, reporter, all says the same thing. They don't want it to happen.
Nobody wants it to happen.
He's such a talented player, and that's why this is such a shame that we are having this conversation, because it wasn't long ago where we were talking about A.J. Brown potentially going down as the greatest wide receiver in Eagles franchise history, extended period of time, not 1 year of TO, an extended period of time. Could he have reached Harold Carmichael's record of receiving yards, which still stands at the top of Eagles franchise history, which is amazing considering the era that he played in, and oh, by the way, considering how many years it's been since then. We were having that conversation last year.
Yes.
And here we are now talking about him potentially being traded because of whatever reason. We don't know the exact reason. We could lean toward thinking it's because of the quarterback, not because of the personality of the quarterback, but the way in which he throws the football. Maybe AJ wants to play with on a different offense. Maybe it is the offensive coordinator. I asked Shefty yesterday at the end of our interview, is there any chance it's resolved? He believes there's a chance. There's always a chance that it could be resolved. He talked about players that requested trades and then eventually stayed with their team. The big deal was, though, he mentioned players that got paid. AJ's not getting a new contract.
Yes.
So does A.J. Brown want to play with the Philadelphia Eagles, or does he not? And when I hear 0% chance by somebody that covers the team inside and out, it bums me out because I really like him. And I think that's one of the biggest misses in this conversation that leads to anger for people, is that there are fans, not all, because, again, this conversation is not a sweeping judgment of everybody in Philadelphia. But there are people that think because we're talking about it, we want it to happen.
Nobody wants to see, I think, one of the most talented players that we've seen. Look, AJ did this to himself, and he did it because of his desires. These are his own desires. And when I use the term selfish desires, selfish can be used as it means these are what he wants. You can choose to use it if it's selfish, if you consider it a negative thing, but it's his own selfish desires about what he wants, what kind of offense he wants to play in, what kind of stats he wants to compile. But last year, when I saw that before the Super Bowl parade, what he had to say about winning a title, the alarms went off in my head, and now I know 100% that I was right. I was right all along. He was, even in the utmost moment of happiness, it was like, well, I wasn't a big enough part of it. I didn't get mine. I didn't get my numbers. And that disgruntled for him. It wasn't about team.
Yeah.
Team is not the most important thing to him. It's not. And some players, it's not. It is not the most important thing to him, team.
Yep.
Bottom line.
I hear you. All right. Some other responses that I got to the tweet yesterday.
Sure. What'd
Again,
you
if
get?
you're just tuning in, I asked why there's so much anger over opinions and questions.
Sure.
And not even questions like 610-632-0975. Like asking Adam Schefter a question gets people riled up.
Oh, yes, it did.
Somebody, Francis, responded yesterday.
Lighten up, Francis.
The gig is up. It's so obvious when someone gives a negative take just to gun up anger. It's insulting and ultimately leads to a bad product. Can't listen to it anymore. Just not enjoyable. Now, I responded because, again, I was having cordial conversation with people that were having cordial conversation. There were some
people are
knuckleheads,
just
right?
Exactly.
I said, look, I'm not denying that happens in this city. I know that it happens in this city.
No, we know it does.
I know that there are people that wake up, and it's not just radio. It's podcasts. It's every medium that you can think of.
There are
There
content
are people-
aggregators.
Yeah. Writers that go, all right, what can I write or say that's going to get people angry?
That's going to stir the pot.
I will not deny that happens.
I'm not taking the blame for it.
We don't do it. Some of you may think that we do. I promise we don't. I actually offered somebody to come into our 5 a.m. meeting because somebody said, you guys probably sit down at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, you say one thing, you say the other. I go,
that's never happened.
Come to our meeting and you're going to be really bored for an hour.
You're going to be bored.
Telling
They
you
said,
right
I'm
now.
not waking up at 5 for that crap.
Yeah, the guy didn't respond to the invitation.
Yeah, it's never happened.
But I did ask the guy the question. I said, look, we don't do that on the show, but I do want to ask, what if the negative opinion ends up being true? Because let's face it, we may say something in the heat of the moment that you may not like, but what if it ends up being accurate? Unfortunately, society will not say, damn, I was right, or I was wrong, you were right. It's on to the next thing, or it's you're to blame for it. Like if A.J. Brown does indeed get traded, it's going to be media ran him out of town.
And that is the biggest load of garbage that will ever be heaped, and anybody who says it is 1,000% wrong.
But it's
AJ
a coping mechanism. And I don't blame anyone for coping the way they want to cope.
Oh, I do. If you're coping with lies, yes, I blame you because you're delusional. I'm going to blame you. It's like the person who said there was a gentleman on there, only 2 people of all the responses.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
And it was.
People.
There were 2 people that I found annoying as hell, and I responded to both of them. One was, oh, you guys, you make up stuff every day and everything like that. And I said, could you give me one example? We've been doing this show almost 2 years. Could you give us one example of a story that we made up? Just one. If we do it every day, you should have no problem making up one example for us to prove your point. Silence. And the other one is the broad brush of painting, Philly sports radio. That's Philly sports radio. It's what they do. No. We do not do a show like all of Philly sports radio does. And if you're complaining about what you're hearing in Philly sports radio and you're painting it with a broad brush and you're painting us with the same brush, I can't help it if you're choosing to listen garbage in, garbage out. If you choose to consume garbage and that you complain about, that you think is awful, and then you're going to blame and you're going to paint everybody who's doing it. No, we don't. We do not have any fake stories attributed to us. We do not make anything up like that. I have no problem showing my face to any team executive, any players or otherwise, because we don't do that.
Sure.
And by the way, the vast majority of our sports radio peers never show their face in a locker room. Never. There's a reason for that. There's a
they
reason.
feel comfortable saying something.
Because
and
they
then
say
not.
stuff behind a mic that they would never say in front of a player. They will not go to a batting practice. They will not go to it because they know they could. I don't
They
know.
could be
what they-
confronted with some of the things that they say.
and then they'd have to justify it.
I heard a radio host in this city called Trey Turner an idiot. I hate him, and it's like,
Now look,
wow, that's a lot.
by the way,
And that's a radio host. I'm not saying fan. I'm
Yes.
saying radio host.
I can
that's-
tell you, I have had at batting practice. I have had players say something to me about stuff they've seen on a video reel,
Sure.
or otherwise, and it's always been either flippant or but it's there.
Yeah.
They see you. They get the chance to talk to you.
All right, we'll continue this conversation. Eagles offensive coordinator position. Why does it seem to be still out there?
It's there.
It's there. What's going on? Andrew DeCecco in studio with us for 2 hours. He can
may
help
be
us with
interviewing
that.
this morning.
He
Who
could be.
knows?
Zach Berman at 8:05. But coming up next, it's today's headlines with Connor Thomas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Sixers core is fire. Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, before we get to today's headlines, just want to read one YouTube comment about our discussion about the anger and then something about the offensive coordinator position we have a call on. Mopar chimes in. Having adult conversations is one thing, but the overreacting and the theatrics are totally different thing. So, yeah, I can't come on the radio and go, I am very upset with the way the Eagles lost yesterday. Are you? Like, yeah.
How do you feel?
They're
This
show-
is welcome
look,
to NPR. How was the Eagles? The Eagles lost yesterday, 27-21.
There's theatrics to this job.
What do you think?
Absolutely there is.
I see. Now I disagree with you.
Well, maybe not.
Like, do you? There is nothing you do on the air that you don't do off the air.
Sure.
So I don't consider it theatrics. There's nothing Connor, when Connor gets animated, anybody who works with Connor Thomas.
It's infrequent, but when it happens, it happens.
But when Connor gets animated, anybody would tell you that works behind the scenes here is that they've seen Connor animated like that behind the scenes.
Now, somebody did say on our Twitter conversation yesterday that you're the most level-headed one because it's not as often. It's also a personality thing.
Yeah.
I get fiery over
you do.
over things. I yelled at you in a Sunday League baseball game because you shook me off and then you gave up a double.
I don't throw the change up, dude.
I called a changeup. You shook me off. You threw a fastball. You gave up a screaming line drive double
Did we
to
win
the
the
wall,
game?
and I yelled at you.
I've said
but that's how I am.
I've said it before. Connor is one of the kindest, sweetest people that I've ever known in my entire life. And I really believe that. I've been on this earth a long time.
But I've learned the hard way. We all can't be me.
Yeah,
so sometimes we just
Connor's different. Connor's different. A different beast. Andrew's very kind and a sweet guy too.
I just get fiery.
You get very fiery, very animated. So do I. I am much more black and white on things. You have much more gray area, but I think you are much more 0 to 60 than I am.
Yeah,
Like it's like
that's how I drive.
you're like it's weird. You're more 0 to 60 than I am, but you have much more gray area on subject matter than I do. So it's like we all get to know each other, but there's nothing that if we talked about something off the air or on the air, it's exactly the same way.
Smeagol says Connor's the only one that he likes on the show.
I love you, Smeagol.
And
My
Smeagol,
precious.
Smeagol has called me Kensington Andrew for almost 2 years
We
now.
all have our favorites.
Let's go to Slick Rick in West Philly. What's up, Rick?
Fellas, good morning.
What's up, brother?
What's up, Rick?
How you doing, man?
All right, first thing, spoiler alert. A.J. Brown, unfortunately, he won't be in Philly next year. He's going to New England. New England's going to overpay. He's going to reunite with his original coach. That's just what it is. It's like he's not getting his numbers here. He doesn't care about the wins, the losses, the championship. And if you watch his body language, like in the huddle, he has his back to the huddle. Like, you got to watch.
Well,
like,
because he knows he's running one of two routes. It's either a hitch route or a go ball.
Basically, true.
Yeah.
True.
No,
True.
all three of us here in this conversation, we have compassion for AJ's frustration. I just hate his body language. I hate the fact that he has quit on plays this year. I hate the fact that he came with a Debbie Downer attitude that I think cost this team.
I agree. And the thing is, all right, fine. You're not happy. But at the same time, if you have the opportunity to win, honestly, if you don't get any catches, who cares? Who cares? It's like it's team first. And unfortunately, that's not the mindset that he has.
Well,
He
and
wants to make
it's
his
not
numbers.
for everybody. If you remember, we had Kurt Warner on a couple weeks ago, and he straight up said that there are players that AJ Brown's not the only guy that wants to win. And,
you're right.
he mentioned Patrick Surtain. The biggest compliment a cornerback can get is a quarterback refusing to throw his way, but Surtain is upset that people don't do it because he wants to impact the game more. So it's not just AJ.
Definitely. The thing is, he has a contract that's set up in such a way that if he makes certain tiers, he gets more money. So he feels that they're taking food off of his table because he's not getting the opportunity to make that.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's like a salesman.
And there's
If you're a
also
commission
there's also the Canton talk, Slick, and we appreciate the call, man. Like if he wants to go to the Hall of Fame, he's not going to go to it being a 1,000-yard receiver. It's going to have to be more. All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with the Connor Thomas.
What we got?
It's brought to us by our friends over at Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com. So our old pal Ranger, we're all sad to see him go. He had his introductory press conference up in Boston as a member of the Red Sox. And he said a lot of the right stuff. I'm happy to be here and everything like that. Excited for my time. And he also took time to mention how his name's actually pronounced.
The question was around Venezuela and also how he actually says his name. So my name is actually Rangel, but however you guys want to address me, Ranger, is how most people do, so I'm comfortable with either.
Rangel.
That was breaking news in the city of Philadelphia yesterday. Tim Kelly was the one that posted, and everybody was like, what?
Wow.
Ron Hatter Suarez. Or what did John Morosi call him the other day?
He said Suarez super weird.
Suarez.
Suarez.
Put some stank
And I was
on
like,
it.
I don't even think Ranger says that.
There used to, real quickly, there used to be a guy, Jose Santiago,
Okay.
who used to work on Channel 6 here in town. And he used to be at there's a fire in Kensington, and right now 7 people are going to the hospital. Reporting live from Kensington, Jose Santiago, Channel 6 Action News. The only thing that he said with that was his
Well,
name.
he was showing respect to his heritage.
The only thing that he said, but the whole report, he would just speak.
I literally could go under the Salciunas, like on the air anytime I want.
Yes,
but
you could.
And I could pay, homage to my heritage, but I don't do it.
Oh,
It's
that's
fine
right.
if somebody does it. Ron
There you
Hatter.
go.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
right
go.
here. We also have a battle of the families, or the same family. So Rick Pitino will be traveling to Xavier University for a basketball game. Pitino, of course, the head coach at St. John's. His son, Richard, coaches at Xavier. And on Saturday, the matchup, if Rick Pitino wins, will be his 900th career victory. So he was asked, what happens if your son knocks you off for your potential 900th career victory?
I think he will do everything humanly possible to stop it. So I think that's a big treat for me and the family. He's doing a fabulous job. So this is going to be a lot of fun, great game. If we lose, I'll leave my team in Cincinnati.
That's a great answer, and it's a great way to look at it. And I'm sure he's very proud of his son, who's earned the situation.
Yeah, but I'm whooping my kid's ass if I got my 900th career
Oh, dude,
on the line.
absolutely. And it would be I think it would be an honor for Rick Pitino to beat his son for the 900th win.
Yeah, it's a cool setup.
Like
but
that's cool.
it's going to ruin Thanksgiving if you lose that game.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think so. I'd be mad about that for a while.
All right. Well, thank God that we don't have to worry about that with you, Connor. All right. That's today's headlines. Thank you to Lundy Law. Appreciate you. All right. Coming up next, Andrew DeCecco in studio for the remainder of the show. We'll also speak with Zach Berman at 8:05, who put out the tweet about the vacant offensive coordinator position that jumped the show back at the 6 o'clock hour. We'll remind you what the tweet is. We'll get Andrew's thoughts on it before we get Zach on. And then we'll talk to Zach Berman and continue the conversation about the Eagles offensive coordinator position and also Delilah Radio. Why is it that some of you get so angry over sports? And yet, here's the deal. You guys still listen. I love that. I appreciate that. You're the reason why these lights are on. So let's just figure it out why. It's
Little dim
Kincade
today, by the
Salciunas,
way.
97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The OC search continues. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are still searching for their next offensive coordinator, the replacement for Kevin Patullo, but it appears another name has come off the board. Diana Rossini reporting yesterday that Brian Dable's going to either end up as the Bills head coach or the Titans OC. Eagles did conduct an interview with Dable. So what is it with the Eagles offensive coordinator position? Is it an attractive position, and how does it play out? Brandley Gowton of Bleeding Green Nation joined Middays with Marks yesterday to talk about it.
But their candidate pool is going to be limited because some coaches want a lot of control and say, and they're just not going to have that. That doesn't mean you can't get a good offensive coordinator, but it does mean you might not be able to get your number one or number two priorities, and it sounds like McDaniel and Dable were those guys.
We'll keep you updated on how that plays out as the job market's thinning. The Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night. Had a 3-goal lead, lost a 3-goal lead, and then lost in overtime. They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They're off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid is probable for the game. Paul George questionable. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. Coming up next, Andrew DeCecco joins the guys. He'll be with us for the remainder of the show. And at 8:05, Zach Berman of The Athletic calls in to talk a little bit more about the offensive coordinator search. This update is brought to you by Barbera's on the Boulevard. New year, new car. Cherokees and more Cherokees. $199 down, $199 a month. Is Barbera the best? Boy, I guess. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the best Birds coverage. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 TheFanatic.com.
impending doom of this weekend storm.
Adam Joseph joins us tomorrow as part of the show.
Can't wait. Find out more about what could potentially happen.
And right now, so I got the numbers this morning for us.
All right, what we got this morning?
Same zip code, so I just texted my buddy and I said, zip code, what's the wobble looking like? It wobbles anywhere from 9, so a little lower than yesterday,
Okay.
to 18.
Okay.
It'll be down to 4, probably.
I
in like
don't
2 days.
believe that.
Probably.
I don't believe that because
Or
of
they'll
the size.
cast a wide net of anywhere between 2 and 20
No, the
inches.
size of the storm makes it so much that, like, it's almost well, first of all, it's impossible for it to miss us. There's no way.
Yeah, we're going to get hit. It's
There's
just
no
a
way
matter
it
of how
can miss
much.
us. And it's so cold, there's no way it could be like turned in. Oh, it's going to end up being a rainstorm.
By the way, 30
But-
degrees this morning felt like 60. It's amazing.
It was awesome.
You just heard the voice of Andrew DeCecco. Andrew, good
Welcome
morning.
in,
Welcome
Andrew.
into the show today.
Good morning, guys. Great to be with you, and much to discuss.
It's great to have you. You do a tremendous job covering Inside the Birds, covering the Eagles for Inside the Birds.
Thank you.
You do.
Well,
yes,
what were you
Listen,
laughing about?
we'll tell you off.
Well, yesterday, John texted me saying every time we have a guest on, you say that they do a tremendous job.
We went through. I was doing.
I go, what do you want me to say? They suck?
I go back and listen to stuff, and so this morning I've been counting. I've been in a trend of saying
Literally,
because I'm trying not to say it.
Oh, you say literally a lot.
So I said
didn't-
literally.
I didn't notice that you say tremendous a lot.
It does a
Neither did
tremendous.
I.
Every guest who comes on, he does a
So
tremendous
next
job.
time,
So I said-
so Zach Berman joins us in 3 minutes. I'm going to tell him that he sucks.
He does.
at
No, you
what
can just
at
say
what
he does a really good job. He does a great
Outstanding,
job.
spectacular.
Right. So we've been trying to get. So this morning is that idea.
Look, not everybody can speak the way Andrew DeCecco does with dropping behoove.
He's amazing.
Whenever he wants. All right, so speaking of Zach Berman, we've been reacting to his tweet that he posted yesterday that has led to a lot of conversation on the show this morning about the vacant offensive coordinator position. Again, Mike McDaniel goes to the Chargers. Brian Dable has decided that it's either going to be the Bills head coaching job or the Titans OC job. Takes the Eagles off the list, or Eagles took him off the list. We don't know. But all we know is Brian Dable is not coming here. So Zach Berman put out a tweet yesterday, Andrew, that I want your reaction to, and this will further the conversation throughout the rest of the show. Nick Sirianni has been flexible throughout this offensive coordinator search. My understanding is that autonomy has not been an issue early in the process, and he's been open-minded regarding scheme. Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable. There might be more rigidity with some elements on the roster, like Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position, but there's also ambiguity about key spots on the roster, like the futures of A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson. Those are all big factors in how the offense is going to look under a new OC. So I want you to unpack that before we talk to Zach, get your expertise on the conversation, because it seems like there are a lot of reasons why maybe some of these top candidates did not want to come here per se and went in different directions.
Yeah, the ambiguity, I think, stems from questions about the state of the offensive line. Whoever's taking over that the offense, what's the health status of a Lane Johnson, of a Landon Dickerson, of a Cam Jurgens, Jordan Mailata? Because if you want to play a certain style, you're going to need an offensive line that's pretty close to pristine health if you want to play that style. There's the A.J. Brown question. Pretty important piece
Big
there,
one,
right?
yeah.
Is he going to be in Philadelphia or is he not going to be in Philadelphia? And then I think when you work your way down the list, you're naturally going to have the question of, am I going to have full autonomy to run my system? Or am I going to have to do what I have to do to acquiesce or accentuate the strengths of the personnel? So there are a lot of questions there. And I think at the heart of the matter is the offensive line and their health.
Tomas, one of our listeners, sent along a question. We brought up something last hour, and he says, ask DeCecco when he comes in. So he didn't want our insight. He wanted DeCecco's
Football guy,
insight.
I understand.
How much of a potential hurdle is it that Jeff Stoutland being part of you've already arrived, this is your offensive line coach, and how he runs the running game restricts offensive coordinators coming in here?
I think that matters maybe more so for someone like a Mike McDaniel, who's obviously his run design. He has a vision for what that's supposed to look like. But Jeff Stoutland has built up enough equity with the Philadelphia Eagles and enough success that, barring something unforeseen, I don't view him as someone that they're going to move off of.
No, but do you, as far as for candidates looking at this job, Not that they don't respect Jeff Stoutland.
No. But like you're talking
that it
about,
restricts what they want to do.
yeah, it could if they have a certain style that they want to adopt. The Eagles certainly have their own implemented with Jeff Stoutland.
All right. Well, let's further this conversation with the man that put out that tweet that got our show going this morning. He does an incredible, astronomical, gargantuan job covering the Eagles for The Athletic. The great Zach Berman joins us. Zach, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Good talking to you guys.
Thanks for coming
up,
on, man. I
buddy?
love the energy this morning.
ZB,
Man, geez,
yeah.
did you sleep well last night? My God, you're fired up this morning.
I was excited for the show.
DB's always like this.
Damn
And I
right,
love
man.
it.
No,
Awesome.
I've never seen him have a bad day.
I love this. So Zach, we've been reacting to your tweet yesterday about the ongoing position of the offensive coordinator, where you mentioned that your understanding is that autonomy has not been an issue early in the process for guys like Mike McDaniel and Brian Dable. But now that we know those guys are off the board, curious, is the complete autonomy conversation still there for maybe some of the other candidates that weren't considered the top of the list guys league-wide?
That's a fair question. I don't have that information as far as what the offense would look like in terms of the autonomy as you get further down the list. I do know that, the new coordinator is going to have play calling power. He's going to bring in his scheme. But as you guys were talking about before I came on, it's not a blank slate situation. It's not like you come in with all your coaches. It's not like you come in and pick your roster, right? So the autonomy is you don't have to come in and call the offense that was here before. But there are factors in place that, some are rigid, some are not, but it's not a blank slate situation when you come to Philly.
How much of a restriction do you think would be that they have to go get somebody maybe then that is a young up-and-comer that then doesn't have as many set-in-stone ideas that fits into this situation better?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're fairly open-minded as far as like who the candidate is. Play calling experience, as you've seen, has been something that I don't want to say it's been a requirement, but it's been what they've been looking for. They're not looking for on-the-job training here, at least as of now. When you look at Kevin Patullo, you look at Brian Johnson, that was their first time calling plays in the NFL. And I think when the Eagles made this change, they spoke about evolution, but I think one of the things they were also looking for is that play calling experience, the credibility, if you will, that you've done this before. So we can, kind of get into the semantics of who's up and coming, how many years you've had to do it to be like a credentialed play caller, what the age profile is, and they've been speaking to candidates of all different types of experience, right? Josh Grizzard has far different experience than Matt Nagy does. But I do think they're looking for play calling experience at this point.
CB, would love to get your perspective on this. Which of the names sort of attached to the Eagles most piques your curiosity?
Yeah, so if I'm saying like who would be the home run hire at this point, it's actually not someone that they've spoken to yet because he's in head coaching conversations, and the situation just became more fluid this week, and that's Joe Brady. If Joe Brady were to become available, I think he would be the home run candidate. I mean, you look at the Bills' offense during the past 2 years, even though they had Josh Allen, what he's been able to do in terms of the creativity, the flexibility, they haven't had elite receivers, and they've had a really productive offense. Third down rate, red zone rate, all those are what you want to see. Now, as far as the coaches they've spoken to, it depends exactly what you're looking for. I mean, Bobby Slowick's someone who, if we had this conversation 2 years ago or so, he was a hot name for head coaching possibilities. He got a contract extension with Houston. He did a really good job in C.J. Stroud's first year. And if you're intrigued by that Shanahan style, the Shanahan tree, he brings those passing game concepts. And if you can meld that with Jeff Stoutland's running game concepts, you can be onto something there. But there's a reason why it didn't work in year two in Houston. I mean, you can go on down the list. If you're looking for what the Brian Dable type was in terms of someone who has play calling experience, has worked with different types of quarterbacks, has the head coaching experience, that's Matt Nagy. And there's familiarity there, of course, But also Andy Reid is making a change there, right? And so I don't think there's a perfect candidate at this point. I can go through all these names, whether it's Mike Kafka, whether it's Jim Bob Cooter. Like there's different things with each of these coordinators that I can point to. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is they're looking for. But if you said, Zach, who's the candidate who's out there who I think would be the best fit for the Eagles, it's Joe Brady.
The Athletic Zach Berman joins us here on Kincade and Salciunas. Zach, also in your tweet, you talked about the ambiguity of this offense, right? Questions about Lane Johnson's future, the future of A.J. Brown. I look at this as a destination that somebody would want because the Eagles have had success for numerous years since the turn of the century, and we've seen two offensive coordinators quickly become head coaches. We've also seen two offensive coordinators get fired right away, and there's a lot of questions about the state of the roster, and there's questions about the quarterback. So I'll ask you, do you deem this vacant offensive coordinator position an attractive one?
Me personally, yes, for the reasons that you said, because this has been a springboard job. In the past decade, 3 OCs have gone on to become head coaches. To me, that's not a coincidence. I think there are organizational factors when you look at the front office, when you look at the owner, that if you're an aspiring head coach, there's some pixie dust, for lack of a better term, that you might want exposure to. And also, if you look at the roster, there's a lot to work with there in theory. Now, the reason I say in theory, and this gets to the other side of it, is there is ambiguity with the roster. You don't know if Lane Johnson's not here and A.J. Brown's not here, and it's certainly, the latter one, A.J. Brown, it's looking each day like there could be a trade there. This is not the same offense. The 21 offense was a lot different than the 22 offense, and you don't know what the plan is there. I personally think Jalen Hurts is an asset to this job, but it is true that you need to have a plan to maximize him. You're not coming in and saying, Jalen, run my offense. What you're doing is you need an offense that accentuates Jalen Hurts' talent. And then there's factors externally and internally in the organization. Externally, this is a high-pressure situation. We've seen that before. It's a demanding fan base. It's a high-pressure media core. And then internally, there are a lot of factors. There's different stakeholders at play. There's a lot of internal pressure. It's not a cushy job in that regard. It's a very demanding job. And it's not a job that comes with a 3-year time horizon. It's a job where the expectation is that you do well right now. And so I can see why some would argue it's not desirable. Certainly it's bared out that other coaches have found other opportunities more desirable. But me personally, when I look at if you're a coordinator who wants to become a head coach, I think this is an intriguing opportunity.
Zach, what about desirability of taking a job with a coach that you know the head coach has more stability? The report just came out that that there was some instability as far as Nick Sirianni's job back in 2024 when they were 2-2, and after this year, you'd have to think that next year's got to be pretty good for him to stick around potentially. Maybe a guy's thinking, is this only going to be a 1-year stop because Sirianni's not maybe on the strongest ground?
Look, I hear you there as far as if you're taking the Titans job, I mean, you're probably more confident that there's a longer time horizon where in Philly you need to win now. I personally think you don't go into a job saying, what if this doesn't work? You go into a job saying, what if this does work, right? I mean, if you're worried about all the factors in place that would make it not work, then that's problematic. And yeah, I mean, I think that Nick knows he needs to keep winning. But I don't think that there's instability with the head coach. And those situations we were talking about after the 23 season, after the bye week in 24, that was before the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That was before Nick Sirianni received the contract extension, right? So I think Nick certainly has more equity after what happened in 24, and I think that's where things always change. I've seen on social media and in articles people point out a quote that Nick had after the 22 season when Nick said it doesn't matter if it's Brian Johnson calling plays or Kevin Patullo calling plays or Big Dom calling plays, that it's going to that there's going to be an offensive infrastructure in place. Well, that was before what happened in 23, and that was before they granted Kellen Moore, that autonomy to an extent. So I think things do evolve, but yeah, I mean, you're not coming in with a new head coach. Although I would also add to that in today's NFL, I mean, what is stability, right? I mean, how many coaches are in place? How many coaches can say, I have a 5-year plan to put in place here?
Zach, going in a little bit of a different direction here, you and I have had a chance to talk to Christian Parker the past 2 years, and it's of little surprise that he's garnering interest for defensive coordinator vacancies. In your perspective, what is it about his coaching profile that you believe makes him a appealing candidate?
Yeah, great question, Andrew. I mean, I can talk for a while on this, but I mean, to be succinct, his expertise on defensive play, number one. Like he's someone who has a really refined sense of how to play the position in the defensive backfield. But I also think he has a macro view in terms of situational football. Something when he was with the Packers, he was in the headset with Mike Pettin there, who was the D coordinator, and I think that
Central Bucks
he's done
West.
a lot of study. Yeah, he exactly, and Christian's done a lot of studying in terms of like situational football, working with the Broncos, working with Vic Fangio. You've seen the success he had with Fangio, and being in that tree. So to answer the question succinctly, he's had exposure to a lot of high level coaches. Number one, the proof is in the pudding in terms of the play. Patrick Surtain and Jaquan McMillan, and then Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, he's done a really good job developing young corners, number two. And then number three, and this is something that you keep hearing, his ability to connect with players across the locker room, different positions, different age profiles. There was one point where he was coaching Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell, right? And he had first-round picks, and then he had undrafted guys like Reed Blankenship, right? I mean, he's been exposed to a lot of different players, and he's had success with a lot of different players. The Eagles are only renting him. He's not here for long, and I think the Eagles know that as well.
Zach, we appreciate the time as always. Keep up doing such tremendous work for The Athletic. You do a great job, man. We always love having you on.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks, guys.
There he is,
Thanks,
Zach
Zach.
Berman on the line
with us.
Does
a tremendous job.
He does a tremendous job.
I love ZB, man. He's the best.
No,
he's
fantastic.
What you said, though, is the truth. He's very much like Connor. He's sort of a Connor type. He has that sort of he's always happy.
He's great. He's great.
He's a great energy, great
he brings
attitude.
an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Yeah,
There you go.
absolutely.
You don't find bad days if you don't go looking.
Damn right, man. So, Andrew, I want to ask you this question. I ended up bringing it up with Zach, but curious to get your thoughts on it. So, yesterday when we had Adam Schefter on, we talked about the attractiveness of the job. And I asked him, like, hey, A.J. Brown's future that we don't totally know of, but you kind of feel the direction that's going, that he's not going to be here. How much does that matter for an offensive coordinator? And he was kind of like, come on, man, like, it's the offensive coordinator position of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's churned out 2 head coaches in the last 4 years. I think that plays a key factor. Like, if I'm a guy that wants to become a head coach, I need to have success. And to have success, it's probably better to have A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson than to not. So do you believe that is playing a factor for some coordinator candidates?
Sure, it does. Of course, the passing game runs through A.J. Brown, right, first and foremost. But the Eagles probably don't have a whole lot of clarity or an answer to that question because it's so early in the offseason. I imagine that they're going to do whatever they can to make this a place where A.J. Brown wants to be. But I also think if you're a coordinator, you want to know, is there a contingency plan? If you're not keeping A.J. Brown, what's the recourse here? Are you planning on investing early in the draft in a wide receiver? How much are you looking to spend in free agency and things like that, so that they're not being shortchanged on their end and they have an idea of what the contingent of players looks like that they're going to be working with?
Do you believe A.J. Brown gave it his all this year on the field?
I've never been someone to question effort because I think that's a slippery slope. I don't think he had a good season, and I think that's all relative. But A.J. Brown, I'll never question his effort. It did seem like he had, sort of lost focus throughout the season. And I think sometimes there's the human element that often gets lost in the sports world here, where if you're not exactly happy with your situation, sometimes the frustration can kind of overtake you, and that leads to other things. Uncharacteristic, drops on the field and things like that. Not excusing it, but I am pointing out the human element.
All right. So here's the deal. Coming up next, I want to ask you a gut feeling question. And we will make sure it's gut feeling. It's no reporting. It's no speculation. It's just gut feeling on a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll ask that coming up next. Also, I know you saw the tweet yesterday about why there's so much anger surrounding sports talk. Curious to get your thoughts on it because you do the job totally different than the way we do. So I want to get your thoughts on it. I want to continue to read some more responses. I actually just got a great one 5 minutes ago. So it was not one from yesterday. And I thought about it yesterday, and I am the same way. I'll explain more coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew with us the remainder of the show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
I saw a bunch of people yesterday out at Benari Jewelers because Benari Jewelers has got a great opportunity for you right now. It's their annual Bridal Bash. It's now through February the 7th. Benari's Bridal Bash specials are amazing, and they're offering you 12 months financing on engagement rings and wedding bands and something amazing, a chance to win $1,000. I've been telling you how Benari is the area's diamond experts. Number one reason why they got all the top designers, all the big names that she knows from Instagram and Pinterest, but more importantly, everything that you need to have. So whether it's yellow gold or white gold or platinum, every size, every style, every setting that she's looking for, you can get it during Benari's Bridal Bash. It's going to go through February the 7th. They're going to make sure that you're going to save more than you ever save. Plus, they're going to give you 1 year to finance it all based on approval. Benari's Bridal Bash is great. So saw a few guys in there yesterday shopping for engagement rings. I was shopping for one of those gel wedding bands so I don't get crushed during this upcoming golf season. They got it all at Benari now through February 7th. 2 locations, Exton and Newtown Square. Both of them excellent customer service. Details at BenariJewelers.com.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Attractiveness at OC. I'm Connor Thomas. We're not talking about looks, but the Eagles' offensive coordinator position. Plenty of people are questioning how attractive that position opening is. Another name came off the board yesterday as Diana Rossini is reporting that Brian Dable will either end up as Bills head coach or Titans offensive coordinator. He previously interviewed for the Eagles offensive coordinator job. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday on Kincade and Salciunas, and he talked about how he finds the Eagles offensive coordinator position a very attractive opening.
I know the Eagles had a down season, relatively speaking, but I want to go and work with all that offensive talent. I'd want to go work with Jalen. Hey, Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. There's a lot of talent there. Let me go try that.
With championship weekend nearly here, the Birds are going to have to start picking it up a little bit. Move quickly as their search continues. We'll keep an eye on all that. The Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night after giving up a 3-goal lead. They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They're off tonight. The Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid probable, Paul George questionable. You can hear that game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco remains with the guys for the remainder of the show. Talk a whole bunch of Birds. This update is brought to you by IHOP. IHOP's value menu is here. Enjoy breakfast favorites like pancakes, eggs and bacon, French toast with sausage, or a cheesy omelet with pancakes, all for just $6. Go to your happy place with a $6 IHOP value menu. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's 8:30 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I have a snow day related question that I will ask you at some point this segment. We have to discuss the tweet that I put out there yesterday, the just anger over sports. Get Andrew's perspective on it, because Andrew's not, shock jock radio host like we are, because that's how people that's how people view us. Andrew DeCecco is a journalist, but I know that you also see sometimes anger based off of your reporting or opinion and all that kind of stuff. So our question is to why there is so much anger. But before that, I want to get your gut feeling answer on this, because we've been talking about it a lot today. Is Lane Johnson going to retire?
Well, you could look at the fact that the last 8 games he wasn't able to play, and then the postseason game as well, and that's a tough pill to swallow if you're someone who's played at the highest level, who is a future Hall of Famer like Lane Johnson, and say, oh, well, based on how it ended, it's almost a guarantee that he would come back. But wanting to come back it's a completely different story than putting your body through the grind of getting yourself ready for another NFL season, making it through another training camp, going through the week-to-week, day-to-day grind during the regular season. Can your body get through that? And Owe Lane can answer that. That he's coming off a significant injury, the Liz Frank, the midfoot injury. And so I can't give you a definitive answer because you could look at it and say, well, he's not going to want to end on that kind of a note, but it depends on how your body responds. I would lean right now that he would return.
Okay.
To answer your question, but obviously we're sitting here on January 22nd.
It's amazing how everyone ticks, because remember, BG walked off into the sunset and then said, "You know what? I want that sun to rise again, and I want to play again." Jason Kelce could have walked off after a Super Bowl, even though it was a loss. He could have left after losing the Super Bowl. He then comes back and is emotional on the sideline because of how horrendous 2023 ended. So how do you want to end your career? Is like you said, it's only them that can have that decision or that emotion.
I'm anxious to see I'm more interested in the health reports of finding out how we're going to see if Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson and how their off season's going.
Well, that's going to be key, John. You said it right there. Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. How are they returning next season? Because the Eagles are obviously counting on them to be integral to what they do offensively. And if you want to play this style, and I keep going back to that, if you want the offense to more or less run through Saquon Barkley for at least another season, you need a healthy offensive line. As we just saw, when you don't have that, it really makes your offense one-dimensional and restricts a lot of what you're aiming to do. And, I think that's something I'm certainly going to be keeping tabs on.
Yeah, Connor,
now, kind of marrying those two, like when we saw Fletch walk away, when we saw BG walk away for the first time, Jason Kelce, those guys were all here when their replacements were already in-house. Jurgens, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. And then you see, obviously, with the edge rushers, Nolan Smith, Jalen Slott. Do you think that factors in for a guy like Lane Johnson? Like, he wants to be here when they draft that replacement to mentor, or is he more individually focused?
No, I don't think that's entering his thought. I can't imagine. You have to worry about yourself, your health, getting yourself ready for another season if that's what you choose to do. If it happens to coincide with him being around when the Eagles draft his successor, he'll do everything it takes to get that player up to speed and ready and well versed in Jeff Stoutland's ideologies and what he's looking for his linemen to do, those type of demands. But I don't think that's first and foremost crossing his mind at the moment.
Okay. All right. So one of our other topics today is about us, all of us. And I mean us like Philadelphia sports fans as well. I'm not just talking about us here on the show. Yesterday, I put out a tweet on social media. If you missed it, I'll just kind of give you the gist of it. I wanted to start a Philly sports media dialogue on social media where we figured out why there was so much anger over opinions, questions, like a topic question, or even a question of a reporter. Like John asked Adam Schefter a question about A.J. Brown. Somebody was like, oh, my God, I thought you guys had all the answers, and that's why he wants to get traded. Well, we're just asking a question to try to clarify it with the lead national insider in football. And I also made sure to note that we, as a show, do not want A.J. Brown traded. We realize that A.J. Brown being traded would be a negative impact to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2026.
And you agree, right? You want him back here.
I
your
very
choice.
much
You're not
enjoyed
a fan.
covering
You want-
A.J.
exactly.
Brown, but
Yeah.
I think if you're the Eagles, you should absolutely want A.J. Brown back.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that I make this clear, guys, because A.J. Brown is a tremendous teammate and a positive locker room guy and very well liked and respected there. But that doesn't always mean that there aren't other frustrations that make that a little bit difficult to reconcile.
And so I wanted to make it clear that, and I'm only speaking for Kincade Salciunas. I'm not speaking for other shows or other networks or anything. We don't want him traded, but the fact that we talk about it, people get angry. Oh, that report can't
You're
be
trying to run
true,
him out of
or
town.
You're trying to
No,
run him
in
out of
fact,
town. It's like,
no.
well, no, I honestly, I don't want, I want the opposite.
Well,
I want him to stay here long term.
Yeah, but you know what though? The only thing I differ, if he has the same body language,
Attitude, okay.
I don't want him back.
Fair. So
he's got to be head right. The A.J. Brown we saw here, 22, 23, 24, I want that guy back 100 times out of 100.
So we're trying to figure out what's led to this. And look, society's a big part of it, right? Politics, I see it one way, you see it the other way. We hate each other now. Like
I'm not going to listen to you.
That is an unfortunate situation that this world is in right now. And who knows if we ever get past that. I saw a great response from Addison on Twitter while we had Zach Berman on. Then I want to get your thoughts on it, Andrew.
Yeah, sure.
Addison just saw the tweet from yesterday, this morning. And they said, I want to give this a shot. Because I have communicated with Addison for a while now on social media. I think you guys have to realize that the local media is something of a monolith because of Twitter. I engage with the station through clips here and posts there.
Okay.
And so, let's face it, a lot of the clips that get posted are the ones we're probably the most animated or we're saying the strongest opinion because that creates engagement on social media.
That's a great point.
And look,
that's fair.
Hand raise. How many times do I tell you I don't listen to New Heights?
No, and I do. I like it.
I see
don't
see the
listen to
clips that are posted. And I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just I don't have the time. I do a lot of other things. So I listen to the clips or the Manning cast. Not my cup of tea. I'd rather watch the play-by-play of Buck and Aikman than Payne and Eli yucking it up with a guest sometimes, even though there is great football
I've grown
analysis
tired of it,
that takes place during that show. But I would rather watch the traditional play-by-play, but I will react to clips. So I think that is a great perspective on this conversation, especially when the majority of the clips are normally the ones where there is the most engagement. And I always say, John, I understand that somebody can't listen all 4 hours. But I also have to realize there are some people that listen to no hours.
And they just
no
see
minutes.
the
They see the clip and they go, oh, my God. And they don't know the full perspective of the conversation.
Or context.
And look, that's the way society is.
I had interactions with one of the gentlemen on a clip earlier, and I took the time to respond to him. I'm like, I have absolutely over and over and over said, I want A.J. Brown back.
Right, you don't want him
Well,
traded.
see, I think that's important what you guys are saying. If you have the time and you see the comment, interact with the person if they're being respectful.
If they're being respectful.
Because I obviously always draw the line when it borders on disrespect.
Sure.
But I think, John, that could go a long way in you maybe being able to further explain yourself or provide some context. As long as the person asking the question to you isn't saying this is dumb because
you're an idiot.
Yeah, great
you're a
insight.
dope.
Yeah,
Right.
If they're saying this is dumb, my reply would be like, great insight.
Yeah, I've been saying that a lot. You guys may have caught this recently, Connor and John. Like, I'll have a conversation with you if you look. You want to say my opinion's not smart, but then at least give your reasoning. I'll still converse with you. But if you just say you're an idiot, like, okay,
30 plus years I've done this job a lot longer than you guys have, and it never fails though that you will you'll run into people, and the keyboards make people angry, and actually mean, and then you meet people and you go, that person's not that bad.
No. Right.
But when they start typing, they act like an a-hole. And then you meet them and you go, you're not that bad. And then they go, hey, you're not that bad. And I'm like, yeah, we're not.
And a lot of it is passion and trying to defend the teams that they love. So I'm curious because your perspective is a little bit different than ours. Your thoughts on the conversation that I started on social media yesterday that's carried on to the show today. Just what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of anger and a lot of emotion out there. But speaking solely from my perspective as a journalist, well, it's my job to find truth and get answers. Don't you want to know what's going on, what's the latest with your favorite team?
Not everyone does.
You may not like the news that's coming out, but it's our job to find those answers. We do it a different way. We all do it a different way, but just because you may not want to hear about a certain topic and you want to maybe, put your head in the sand, like these are things that we have to talk about. You can't just ignore it, especially when my job is to cover every corner of the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, yeah, there are a lot of comments that, are disrespectful and not necessarily constructive, or it can, result in the conversation.
But there's also people in our industry that are disrespectful right back. I see it all the time on social media. So, it feels like there's
if somebody if somebody is an a-hole to you, I can absolutely understand somebody in our industry being like, dude, what the hell?
Well, no, I've seen people in our industry start it too.
Well, if they started, that's different.
Yeah, no, I have
if
too.
If they started, that's different.
I mean, I've seen a lot of
if somebody responds, that's fine.
There's been a lot of so where I draw the line, I don't tolerate disrespect. So I learned a long time ago not to read the comments, and sometimes I do. Most of the time, I don't.
Now, I read something of yours yesterday. Coming up next, your thoughts on Matt Nagy and Matt Nagy's thoughts on Jalen Hurts. Because you did the fine job 11 months ago asking him straight up, what do you think about the quarterback? So I want your insight on that. Also, I might need Afro Man playing in the background because I just had another question about this whole sports talk thing. But, John, you can be the only one that answers it because I'm going to aid you here, and I'm sorry. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. All right, let's talk about that FanDuel Sportsbook app, all right? I'm sure gambling has nothing to do with anger. FanDuel, in partnership with Valley Forge, is turning on the playoff mode. All customers get a profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Each game day during the championship round, you're going to find a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts waiting for you in the app. More boosts means even more ways to level up your playoff bets. Pick the matchups that you believe in. Take your shot on an upset or build a parlay that fits the moment. Oh, my God, I checked it this morning. The line went down, Connor. It is now Patriots just 4.5 over the Jarrett Stidham-led Broncos. I said to jump at 5.5. I'll double down. Jump on it even quicker at 4.5. Jump on it. Jump on 4.5 against a guy who hasn't played all season. All of a sudden, he's going to start in the AFC Championship game. Anyways, then apply your profit boost. Go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs keep rolling. Just visit FanDuel.com/local and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. You got to be 21 plus. Present Pennsylvania opt-in required. Bonus issued as knowledgeable bonus profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Fanatics
Salciunas is back from the break. I wonder what they're going to get into.
All right, it is 8:47 on Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew DeCecco with us for the remainder of the show this morning. All right, YouTube is buzzing right now. They got into a conversation about the alcoholic beverage they can't drink anymore because, like, maybe one really bad night. Think of yours.
Is it what do you mean? Is it a drink or is it a
anything? Could it be?
Oh,
it could be a
anything.
beer. Like I've told you, Yingling ran its course for me because that was like the college drink for us.
You drank too much of it?
I can now stomach it, but there was a time where my buddy, my roommate lived in Pottsville.
Oh, wow.
Which is where the brewery was.
Yeah.
If you go right to the brewery, you can buy a 30-pack for like half the price that you would get anywhere else. So he would go.
God bless America.
He would go visit his mom. We'd each give him $20, and he'd come back with like 150 Yinglings.
That's awesome.
And that's all we would drink for like a weekend. And there became a time where
weekend.
Yeah, when you're in college, that's
Yeah, you can put them down.
that's
There you
that's,
go.
that's light work. So think of yours.
All right.
We'll get to it. Also, I have to get to this snow day related question real quick before I ask you about Matt Nagy. Football, snowball fight, or sledding? Because those are the three that if there's a big snow day, everyone can do. You can find a way to, even if you don't have a go-to sled, you get the lid of the trash can. I've done that before. Like, I'm not saying skiing, you're going to a resort. I'm talking about you find a local hill,
Football,
you play
snowball
football
fight,
or
sled.
snowball fight. What's your number one?
Sled.
Football.
I was football.
Sledding. We had great sledding near us. We used to sled on the DuPont estate, which now has a community built on it there in Newtown Square, but we would go sledding. It was great.
Connor?
Yeah, I'm football.
Football.
Those sledding, Laurel Acres Park over in Mount Laurel, if you know, you know. Great spot.
I had a neighbor that backed up to the woods, and they had a steep hill, so that's where
Awesome.
we would go. Oh, it was great, but something about football because you tackle, and it was.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
great.
I was going to say, put me on
Nothing-
defense and let me
nothing hurt.
let me roam.
Because you're wearing
Now-
the puffy jacket, like nothing hurt.
Now, you guys are a different generation of the three of you, and I'm going to age you.
All right.
I would have, at least on South Malin Road, I had, growing up in Broomall, I had at least 10 houses that were on retainer that when it snowed, I shoveled.
Ah, okay. That was
And
nice.
I had money to earn.
My neighbor across the street does it.
So a kid does it?
Yep.
Because I made tons of money as a kid shoveling snow.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I mowed lawns in the summer and did the same thing, mowing lawns. I didn't have that many lawns, thank God. But shoveling snow, you could make a ton of money.
Yeah, my neighbor across
Did you
the
guys
street-
shovel? Did you shovel snow?
I shoveled my.
Yeah.
Did you shovel snow, like for other people?
Yeah, no, for others.
Others, I did not.
I swear,
No, I
I
can't
swear,
say that
your
I did.
generation,
No, I did
it's
that.
like parents. You did?
Yeah, I did that.
Because
I
there
made a little
weren't.
bit of money.
I didn't see many kids doing it.
I also had. I had
don't
a
see
neighbor.
many kids doing it today.
I had a neighbor
No.
down the street growing up that worked in construction, and he got a snowplow.
That's
and
great
he did
stuff.
He did a lot.
Oh,
of
he
people-
monopolized?
Oh yeah,
That brat.
Yeah. Well, no, I respect.
I've done it for neighbors when I was younger. Now, it wasn't a regular thing, but
No,
I've,
a thing
I've
where
done
like
it.
the kids would have you and I.
You get paid,
You
yeah,
would go
no.
and have set houses that you would do, and whether it was $5 a house or whatever, and you'd go and do it. Sometimes we do it before school.
Wow, did you get a proclamation?
No, you get money. You get money because money mattered.
Did you have proper documentation to do that kind of
No,
stuff?
we did not.
all
No
right.
work permits or anything.
First, I want to get your thoughts on Matt Nagy, who it came up yesterday. They are going to interview him, and I know you spoke with him 11 months ago about Jalen Hurts. So talk about him.
Yeah, so Matt Nagy is a name that just based off of what I've seen on social media and hearing what you guys were saying during the break, you're not it doesn't move the needle for you guys.
Right.
And I understand that, but he is someone who was a head coach before with the Chicago Bears. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a quarterback's coach, and I think you like the variance and the variety of different roles that he's held so that nothing's really going to surprise him. He knows how to approach certain things and what he's looking for. I mean, there was a time where he was viewed as on the ascent, and I understand that that's a name that probably feels like it's a retread or something that's not going to be overly intriguing, but he has had a lot of success in the NFL. He was also many may not know this, but he was on the Eagles staff back in 2009,
Right.
and I think there was a time where he actually had to pitch in and be a quarterback for a day or so. But he was an Arena Football League quarterback. He went to the University of Delaware. He's a quarterback there. I think he's also learned from under a lot of different coaches. Andy Reid, first and foremost. So I don't know that I would put him very high on my list, but you could certainly do worse than a Matt Nagy.
And what do you think about Hurts? Because I know you spoke to him about it 11 months ago at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he said good decision maker, clearly trusted the offense and his receivers, protects the football, and he said that really shined through when he was watching the film. So he was very complimentary.
He was promoted when Bieniemy left the Chiefs, and then they're bringing Bieniemy back to take his job. That sort of bothered me because that's Andy Reid, pretty loyal guy.
Yeah, but he would have a chance to call plays here in Philadelphia. Andy Reid ran the show there in Kansas City.
Yeah. By the way, football getting a lot of love on the YouTube chat when it comes to the snow day.
Right on.
Got a lot of love.
Well, snowball fights are iffy because it doesn't always pack. And not everyone has a sledding place, but you can play football anywhere. And you can knock somebody's block off.
I got you.
That's fun.
I got you.
Put me on defense and turn me loose, man.
You're Earl Thomas. John, so I have a question about the topic that we also have on hand today about why there's so much anger toward questions and opinions.
Sure.
How much of it is just social media? You did the job
pre-social media.
Pre-social media. I imagine you got angry callers. Like I know people have always been fanatic about their teams, right? Like that. It's not like today's a new day and age where people care more about sports than ever before.
Remember, you didn't know what the immediacy of the text line.
Right, the text line.
The immediacy of the YouTube feedback.
Yeah.
The immediacy of people being able to go to Twitter. We didn't have any of that when I started doing this job.
So how much of it is that?
It is. It's a lot of it because there's so many voices. So everything is dialed up to 1,000.
Yeah, and not everyone. I don't like speaking in generalities, but there are so many that seem like if they don't agree or like a report, if it's of their favorite player, they don't want to believe that it's true or that it's valid. No. And I have to tell you, there are so many credible reporters that do a lot of legwork to bring this information to light, and to say that stuff's fake or made up, I mean, come on.
It's ridiculous.
Come on.
And I said the story earlier, and I don't know if you heard it when you were driving in. You would be you might have your credential revoked. You'd be shunned in a locker room.
Well, look,
players would mutiny against you.
Well, it's insulting to hear things being viewed as fake or invalid because as a journalist, you pride yourself on integrity. Most of us, I imagine, pride ourselves on integrity.
Right.
And that, for me, is first and foremost.
And that's why...
And humanizing the subjects that I cover, I take a great deal of pride in that.
And that's why when we started this topic, I made sure to say we're speaking for this show.
Right.
Kincade Salciunas.
That's all we can speak for.
Because Tim responded on Twitter yesterday saying the platform of social media has helped fans a lot to have their voice heard.
Which is a great thing. Yeah, it's awesome.
He says, but some fans feel the need to uphold the rep, right? That the teams can do no wrong, right? It's on to the next thing. Don't worry about the negative. Go to the next positive. And there are a lot of people that live life that way. And look, I kind of wish I could do that. But that's just not how my brain works sometimes. This conversation's not going anywhere. Eagles not going anywhere. But coming up next, John tried making me feel better about the Phillies earlier this morning. The Mets made a move yesterday that we have yet to react to.
Oh, boy.
And yet you're questioning one of the signings of the Phillies. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dable off the table. I'm Connor Thomas. The Eagles are still searching for their new offensive coordinator, but it appears another name's off the board. Diana Rossini reporting yesterday that Brian Dable's either going to end up as Bills head coach or Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. Another name that the Eagles were interested in, now finding a job elsewhere. Brandon Lee Gouton of Bleeding Green Nation joined Middays with Marks yesterday, and he talked about the offensive coordinator search and what's going on with the Eagles.
But their candidate pool is going to be limited because some coaches want a lot of control and say, and they're just not going to have that. That doesn't mean you can't get a good offensive coordinator, but it does mean you might not be able to get your number one or number two priorities, and it sounds like McDaniel and Dable were those guys.
Now, there are natural restrictions to every job, but the Eagles have to work around those, hire somebody, and hopefully quickly as the job market thins out a little bit. With the Flyers falling to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night, they've now lost 7 of their last 8 games. They gave up a 3-goal lead in that game last night. They're off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid probable. Paul George is questionable. That game live here on The Fanatic. Andrew DiCecco remains with us for the remainder of the show. This update is brought to you by Uber Eats. Philly, you hungry? Good thing Uber Eats has a great deal waiting for you at La Conchita Food Truck. From now until June 30th, get a buy one, get one deal on select items on the app. Order now only on Uber Eats. Terms apply. See app for details. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the best Birds coverage. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
At least most of the time. Now let's listen to more Kincade and Salciunas before I change my mind.
This year, it's taking a lot of time. But is it taking a lot of time for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? Because let's face it, there have been candidates that a lot of people in Philadelphia have wanted, and candidates that reportedly the Eagles were very intrigued by, and they're going to different destinations. So these top names on the markets that not only a lot of Eagles fans wanted, but it seemed like the organization wanted, are going different directions.
I'm not in any way discouraged by the candidates that have fallen by the wayside because I didn't want them. But that's just me. There are other people who wanted the name brand biggest potential guy. I did.
You know why? Because it worked last year. Kevin Moore was the biggest name brand guy that was available.
Correct.
After the Chargers made the change from whoever Bruce Staley, right?
And he was excellent.
Horrible head coach. They move on to Harbaugh. Harbaugh just wants his own staff, so Kellen Moore becomes available. He's the hottest commodity in terms of an offensive coordinator on the market. Eagles hire him. They win the freaking Super Bowl, and that's 11 months ago.
He did a fantastic job.
So I don't blame anybody that was thinking, man, the last top guy won the Super Bowl or was a part of the Super Bowl winning staff. I wouldn't mind another top guy.
Now back to the show.
All right, it is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5. The Fanatic, Andrew DiCecco in studio with us for the remainder of the show, trying to figure out why the offensive coordinator position may not be as attractive for some candidates. as I've been saying from the very beginning, I think it's attractive for a lot of people. A, it's a promotion for somebody. B, it is a winning organization. C, there are coordinators that have gone on to get head coaching jobs. They have then since been promoted. So there's a promotion to Eagles OC, then a promotion to a potential head coaching job elsewhere. So it is an attractive job. But then when you look deeper into the position, not knowing about the future of A.J. Brown, not knowing about the future of Lane Johnson, there are questions about how you can coach Jalen Hurts. Not from a, can you get up in his grill, but his potential limitations on the field. Working with Nick Sirianni and what he clearly wants, even though there was talk about complete autonomy, but maybe for certain candidates like O'Brien Dable and Mike McDaniel. So the further we have this conversation, we're trying to figure out just how attractive this position is for somebody. I think it matters what their background is. I think it matters what their future possibilities are. There's talks about bringing an older guy that's not going to get a head coaching job anymore. So there's a lot of avenues that they can go. We don't necessarily know what's best, and we don't necessarily know why somebody will or will not come here. So that's been our jumping off point this morning.
And there was an interesting name that Andrew DeCecco was scrolling during the break.
Declan Doyle of the Chicago Bears, their offensive coordinator, didn't call plays there, obviously, because Ben Johnson ran the show. But an intriguing name, a younger coach, and the Eagles will be, I guess, requesting to interview him.
Sean Payton. He worked under Sean Payton.
Okay.
And Sean Payton had some kind things to say in a piece that I read going into last weekend's game. I read something where Sean Payton was talking about Declan Doyle. And then he also then working right there with the Bears this year. It was interesting. Very young. 29 years old, I think.
Jeez.
Very young, but.
Well, sometimes, not every time, but teams will interview. They'll cast a wide net. And sometimes you're just trying to get them in a room. Yeah. Maybe pick their brain a little bit, learn some things, and it's just kind of to gather information. Other times it's more so because you have, a lot of interest in that candidate. So I think he would probably fall under one that you're curious about, sure, given his success with Chicago.
By the way, we also don't know, what if you hire an OC and he wins the Super Bowl and he goes to get a head coaching job? Well, you can pick up the phone again to the guy that you once showed interest in, right? I mean, sure. I would imagine that's a factor too. Tommy John on our YouTube chat saying, be careful about the spin because two offensive coordinators may have got head coaching jobs. The other two also got fired after year one.
I was just going to say that. Everyone says it's a place where you can advance your career. Two coaches did. No disputing that. But there is also a case in a coordinator like Brian Johnson, who, by the way, had a top 10 offense, was 7th in the NFL in points per game with a little over 25, and 8th, I believe, in yards per game, 354, a tick over that, I think. And he was shown the door. And then, of course, Kevin Patullo. They were both one and done.
Right. Okay, what I'd say to Brian Johnson left here after 2023. 2024, 2025. Is Brian Johnson a name in the NFL right now people are looking at for offensive coordinator?
Well, no, but when you are more or less a scapegoat, there's a stigma, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that's sort of it's accompanied by your name based off of the previous experience.
Especially when it was their first time in the NFL. Look, if Kellen,
they're going to associate that with 2023 and the collapse, and it's going to take a while to kind of build your career back up. That's just the reality of it.
And some guys, though, like Brian Johnson, from what I've been told with Brian Johnson, he's very, very good at what he does.
Right. Quarterbacks coach.
And some guys are really, really. Buddy Ryan was one of the greatest defensive coordinators in the history of the game. He was a crappy head coach.
Right.
Like
Brian Dable could be that from the OC perspective.
There's guys who are great at jobs that they do, but they're not qualified to step up and do the next job. And again, too, with these young offensive coordinators, it's the usually around 5 or 6 years you're on an offensive staff before you get the opportunity. Then someone says, yeah, you know what? Let's give that guy a shot. Let's see what he can do. Maybe we'll see.
Well, hopefully for Brian Johnson, he gets a chance to build his reputation back up because I don't think it's fair.
You liked him, too.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair for anyone to say he can't be an offensive coordinator. But, again, you look at the numbers, that was a pretty successful offense. You compare that to the one we just saw this season, and I think many in this city would crave that. Now, it's going to take a while for him, I imagine, to get back to that level again. But he's proven that he could do it.
I'm shocked he didn't get an interview.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, he at least deserves an interview.
Connor, what do we got on the text line when it comes to the OC conversation? I know we've been all over the place, especially with this sort of why we get so angry over sports conversation. What do we got on the OC job? And then later this segment, an update on weather that I will give you. And also, we have to answer the alcoholic beverage that we just can't stomach anymore. What do we got?
All right, so we have a check-in here on the Jalen Hurts part of the equation. This texter says, I think Hurts is a part of the problem, too. You have a quarterback that doesn't like playing under center, isn't comfortable throwing over the middle, and doesn't like to run anymore. That limits your ability to design an offense and be creative.
And it's not all because of Jalen.
No,
but there's questions of
sure,
Jalen.
Sure, and it's kind of like I was saying this year when everybody wanted to solely put the blame on Kevin Patullo, and I was saying that it was a collective and it was met with a lot of groans, and I understand that. But whenever you have something that falls apart of that to that magnitude, it's never just one person. You always have to sort of lift the lid and go under the hood and figure out, okay, well, he was also part of it, but there were probably other things here at play, and of course there were. And it's funny now that I'm hearing, well, it wasn't just Kevin Patullo, it was the offensive line. They didn't have the running game. Jalen Hurts was part of that as well. Of course, everybody has a piece of the pie, some larger than others.
I think one of the big problems is then how could they never figure out how to get past it? And you're going to look at coaching first. Same with like the second half offense. I can't blame Jalen Hurts and the offensive line. I would blame coaching first at halftime adjustments, right? Defenses made halftime adjustments, and the Eagles literally all season, they're one of the worst scoring second half offenses in the NFL all season long. To me, that's coaching first. You go to halftime, it's almost like they're sitting there. They come out, they see what the defense does, and it's like, well, all right, this is what we got.
No. I agree. A lot of it is coaching, but then there's also a lot of executional lapses that we saw this season. Like, there are plays to be made. There are also parts of the offense that have been largely absent, like middle-of-the-field throws, like throwing the football to the running back, which is a basic element of most offenses. Yeah. Why has that been absent? There's a lot of hitch routes, but for anyone to suggest that that's not because of a preference that you're gauging from your quarterback, I mean, I think that's a little naive. He needs to do it. He didn't do a good enough job when it comes to sequencing, when it comes to feel and countering what defenses are doing.
Stacking plays. Like, I felt like it was
no. There's
one
no
big play
disputing
and
that.
then the next three weren't.
There's no disputing that. But when something falls that drastically from the previous year, it's never just one person. Anyone will tell you that.
On the play calling, too, though, as far as the play design and things like that, Dan Orlovsky pointed out over and over again, though, that the play designs, the play calls, things like that were far, far different from just going from Kellen Moore to what was being done with Kevin Patullo. And whether that was the interference of, or the collaboration or whatever, that Kellen Moore got to do more what he wanted to do, that it was a completely different thing. But also, though, the offensive line was playing better.
Oh, of course.
Which opens up everything,
they played at a historic level. That was one of the best performances by an offensive line, arguably in NFL history. And then I go back to what Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith had to say after the game, and they both said, this is the same offense that we were running last year. That's what Saquon called it, the same script. Devontae Smith said it was pretty much the same offense that they've been running since he got there in 2021
Yeah.
I mean, just if you don't want to take my word for it, just listen to what
they said.
Right after the game. All right, Phillies, we've been discussing a lot this morning as well. John Kincade tried giving me 155 million reasons why to still be happy, because I'm miserable. And it's because they were willing to put money down for Bo Bichette.
$200 million.
And so he thinks maybe trade deadline, that money will be available for somebody to acquire.
Or earlier.
Or
you never know. If
earlier.
There could be a move that could be made, potentially.
Like trading for Freddie Peralta.
This is sort of a shift for you, though, John. No? Weren't you? You were pretty frustrated with the Phillies.
No, I'm incredibly frustrated.
I think I brought him down to another level.
He's in the wah-wah.
I'm miserable.
So you're kind of Eeyoring it right now.
I know the Phillies.
I'm angry, sad. Like, my emotions have been.
I'm with you. I think I'm closer to where Andrew is right now.
Andrew and Bill are in the same place.
Yeah,
because I've gotten to hear a lot of unfiltered. You and Bill are in like the same place. I'm in the line of look. I think
you're content.
No. I am very non-content.
You and Dave.
But I know that if I'm to believe that they were going to really go that $200 million, then that means The owner signed off on spending $200 million more. Now they gave $45 million of it to a place for
to
mom.
a 35-year-old catcher.
So but there's still the money's there. So that means there's some bold things. So a guy like Freddie Peralta, let's get that deal done.
Oh, wait. Can't do that because he got traded to the Mets yesterday.
Oh,
so
what did they give up?
A bag of donuts.
No, don't tell me that. Don't tell me
Wasn't
that.
it Acuna's brother, right?
Wait a minute. Okay. They gave up Acuna's brother to get Freddie Peralta? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
so in other words, you could have gotten him, potentially.
Yeah. Freddie Peralta goes to the New York Mets. The New York Mets last year, their biggest issue was starting pitching. And so what did they do this offseason? Let's get starting pitching. Much like how the Phillies' biggest issue was like making their outfield better. And so they signed Adolis Garcia, who they're hoping has a career resurgence, just like Max Kepler last year. And that didn't really work out all that well. So they get Freddie Peralta. Now, look, the Mets bullpen still stinks. That is apparent. Like the Mets bullpen's not good.
And talk about what they lost. They lost their best
Pete
bullpen
Alonso
arm, and they lost Pete Alonso.
But they're trying to get better. Phillies are content with their club. Dave Dombrowski's words, not mine. He said it. He's content.
He said it over and over.
Yeah. So Mets are still adding. And I checked the odds for the division this morning because yesterday I told you Phillies were number 1, followed by the Braves, who I worry about.
I would too.
And then it's the Mets. They were 3rd, but after the trade yesterday, we had a shift. The Phillies still on top, but as I told you yesterday, the NL East, odds-wise, is the closest division in all of baseball. Phillies plus 165 to win the division. Mets right behind them now, plus 185, and the Braves at plus 190. There is not a division where the second-place team in terms of odds is closer than what the Braves are to the Phillies, and they're 3rd. It's going to be a tight division. And, again, I see – oh, man.
What?
It just updated as we were having the conversation.
Are we swinging lines here on this
live
show?
on the air. If you're a FanDuel user, you'll see the green means the number went up.
Yeah, it just moved?
As of literally mid-sentence, you heard me pause – Mets are now the favorite at plus 160. Braves plus 165. Phillies plus 220. Phillies are now 3rd. Odds, but Phillies are now 3rd in terms of odds for the NL East.
They're content. They're fat and happy. That's what they did.
That
ain't losing.
That happened.
Aside from the bullpen, where did they improve?
No,
Phillies,
they're status quo.
I tell you,
they lost players.
The starting rotations where I'm totally concerned with this Phillies.
Of course, they're going to because of they all have questions, right? And I think when you look at that, you have to say they're going to need to score runs. This is the same lineup that's proven to be very streaky. To expect them to score 6, 7, 8 runs routinely to maybe have to atone for some of the questions there at the starting pitching. I mean,
and running the group back.
This is a good club.
That sounds like a great premise.
Why? I wonder why that shifted just now. Like, is something happening that we're about to find out?
I asked you though about a deal.
So
they would have done.
It's funny because John tried cheering me up this morning, and yet you questioned a decision.
No,
the
I
Phillies
asked you
made.
about a deal. Would you have taken Cody Bellinger on a 5-year deal for comparable money to Kyle Schwarber?
That's tough.
I'm going to tell you right now, almost 3 seasons younger than Kyle Schwarber. He plays every outfield position, which frees up DH, which means moving forward for this organization, you would have had a place for mom, I should say, for JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper to be able to not have to play the field. So you can move them. You can make Bryce Harper's long-term contract far more viable. JT Realmuto's contract, far more viable. I'd feel better about JT Realmuto's contract if I knew that the DH was available. That you had place to, hey, JT, you're going to catch, but you're going to DH a couple times just to take some wear and tear off so that 3rd year doesn't look like crap.
Sure.
He can play every outfield position. The guy can still run. I mean, to me,
Kyle Schwarber stole a lot of bags last year.
He's almost 3 years younger. And his money is comparable in a 5-year deal.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Strikes out a lot less.
Strikes out less. He gives you a better at bat than Schwarber.
Well,
but Schwarber gives you the power.
Well,
the power.
That's there it is. That's
Schwarber's
the
on base percentage is ridiculous.
No, but he gives you the he's not going to strike out like he's not going to strike out like Schwarber. He's not going to be. Right. He's not going to do when you come up when they're going to throw Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger's not going to go up there where they just throw him.
Just say last year Schwarber had 30 points higher on base percentage. Just last year.
Well, isn't Cody Bellinger also like a 30 points higher batting average guy for his career? If I'm not mistaken.
For his career, he's 30 points higher, yes.
So, I mean, he's going to give you – Cody Bellinger's going to have a better plate awareness than Schwarber.
Not with a better on-base percentage would tell you Schwarber does. A better contact hitter.
It's the way in which they swing the bat. Schwarber's trying to hit home runs.
Schwarber's trying to hit home runs.
Bellinger will do other things.
Look, and I love Schwarber's power and everything. But you tell me for the comparable amount of money with this Phillies roster as it's currently built, where it's old – and it's locked up with old guys.
Right.
You got a chance to get a guy who's 3 years younger almost on the same money on a 5-year deal. And this guy actually plays all 3 outfield positions, so it gives you flexibility.
I was fine. Look, I wanted Schwarber back.
And it frees up DH.
By the way, the locker room stuff is something that they will talk about as a big reason why he's back. He is the leader of the clubhouse.
Okay.
Of the good club.
Of the good club. That locker room leadership. I would just ask you, what has that meant for you in October?
Yeah. What's that worth?
I got you. I'm just saying that's why he got paid the way that he got paid.
It's meant nothing.
Well, it's meant nothing in October, but has it gotten you there? Has it been a big part of why they've been consistently good in the regular season?
And I would say what's gotten you there, and what I would say again is what's gotten you there is the amount of money that John Middleton spends on the roster, because the average team that spends what the Phillies wins 93 games in baseball, and the Phillies have only managed to do that once.
Right. But
and it may have gotten you there, but
that's what gets you there. Spending the amount of money the Phillies spend is what gets you there.
You don't get to just sim the season based on payroll, though. You got to deliver.
But while that may have gotten them there, if we're going to go with that, it wasn't tangible enough to help them.
No, and he's come up small in the playoffs.
Oh, they've had,
and he comes up. Yeah, he comes up.
Other than the Arizona series a couple of years ago,
October
and San Diego in 2022.
It's been blood.
Red October has been
very short-lived.
It's been a combined 14 days over the last 2 years.
What is that Game of Thrones thing that
the Red Wedding?
The Red Wedding. It's been more like the Red Wedding.
Here's why I would still do Schwarber. Because the home run and RBI numbers are significant compared to Bellinger. And you don't have another guy in this lineup, unless Bryce Harper is elite Bryce Harper, that is going to give you home run and RBI numbers that are equal to the top team sluggers in baseball.
But if you had been willing to do the contract, just play with me here. If you had been willing to do that contract with Bellinger, and by the way, if someone had been willing to, and I'm reading 2 reports today, if someone had been willing to meet this number with Bellinger, he would have signed early.
Sure.
With that team. Then you can get guys with some pop, and even an older guy who would be willing to be a DH or otherwise. You went and got a right fielder who I'm being told, well, we got him for his pop and his power. You could have maybe gotten a DH type for his pop and his power that you could then actually have as a DH because you freed up DH. I'm just saying.
I'm totally fine with Schwarber being back. Totally, I'm not even second guessing.
No. I'm not disliking.
No, I know,
Schwarber
but you're
being back.
second
guessing. But I'm saying
it.
I'm absolutely second guessing it when I see what a player who is absolutely would free up a lot give you roster flexibility. You've made your roster more restricted.
I agree with that.
By your offseason.
All right. 100%. By the way, PAWeatherPlus.com. They have their updated models as of 8:15 this morning. We are in the C zone,
which is what
ABC. The letter C, they're still expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow.
No, it's coming down. It's coming down.
If you're in the
they're saying more on the local.
If you're in the B zone, 10 to 16, which is just north of Westchester, and if you're in the A zone, which is more western PA, they're expecting 16 to 22 inches of snow.
Don't.
That's not going to hit us, but there are listeners of ours. Just west of Harrisburg is the A zone.
DeCecco and I are screwed.
All right, coming up next. What is success in sports? Last week, you tried telling us to take things into perspective. A wild press conference in Buffalo. I'll tell you about next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. All right, let's talk about that FanDuel Sportsbook app, because I still believe it is wild that the Patriots are now just 4.5-point favorites against Denver. I respect that Broncos defense, but Jarrett Stidham, I'm sorry. With all due respect, I don't really believe it. FanDuel, in partnership with Valley Forge, is turning on playoff mode, and all customers get a profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Each game day during the championship round, you'll find a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts waiting for you in the app. More boosts means even more ways to level up your playoff bets. Pick the matchups you believe in, take your shot on an upset, or build a parlay that fits the moment. I'm going to go with Patriots minus 4.5. I would have taken it at 5.5. I'll definitely take it at 4.5. Then apply your profit boost and go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs keep rolling. Just visit FanDuel.com/local and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. You got to be 21 plus. Present in Pennsylvania, opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-trouble profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration, wager, and amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles still searching. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are still looking for their new offensive coordinator, but the job market's thinning out more by the day. Diana Rossini reporting yesterday that Brian Dable will either end up as Bills head coach or Titans offensive coordinator, another name the Eagles were interested in that appears to be off the board. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday on Kincade Salciunas, and he talked up the Eagles job, saying, hey, it's a place you should want to be.
I know the Eagles had a down season, relatively speaking, but, I want to go and work with all that offensive talent. I'd want to go work with Jalen. Hey, Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. There's a lot of talent there. Let me go try that.
But the position's still vacant, and with championship weekend approaching, the Eagles need to move quickly as that job market, as I mentioned, gets thinner by the day. The Flyers fell to the Mammoth 5-4 in overtime last night. They gave up a 3-goal lead in the game to allow Utah to force that overtime period. They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They're off tonight. Sixers host the Rockets tonight at 7 p.m. Joel Embiid probable, Paul George questionable. You can hear that game live right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco remains with us for the remainder of the show. This update is brought to you by the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. It's happening again. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship Saturday, February 7th. Knucklemania 6 taking over Xfinity Mobile Arena, and everyone's coming. Get your tickets at bkfc.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and the Best Birds coverage. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
That's LundyLaw.com. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, the sports talk doesn't stop with these guys. Make sure you tune in Middays with Marks. You guessed it, with me, John Marks. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. Let's get back to more of Kincade Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The final hour of Kincade Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
All right, it's 9:31 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. What is success in sports? We'll get to that in a moment because there's an interesting article written based off of comments made by the general manager of the Buffalo Bills. We'll get to that momentarily, but I want to give credit to somebody on YouTube. Oh, man, here we go. Jason Sisley, it looks like, chimes in here.
He works at Wawa?
Of the Sisley fortune?
He works at Wawa? Whoever invented that.
Of the Sisley family.
Of the Sisley family, of course. Andrew, you got to check out ESPN's article on the top 100 most valuable players in the NFL this year. So they did this big breakdown of the value that they brought to their teams, and then, of course, they ranked them. There are Eagles on the list, as you can imagine. Now, valuable to their team does not mean – it's like the Joe Burrow conversation last year. Like, you saw Joe Burrow not on the Bengals, and then you saw him with the Bengals, and you saw how different the team was. So just to let you guys know, Dak Prescott is number 2 on this list. Right? They win games because of Dak Prescott. That defense was not winning them any games. Drake May came in at 1. Dak came in at 2. Stafford at 3. Allen at 4. Jordan Love at 5. The first Eagle on this list, Quinyon Mitchell.
No
tremendous
surprise.
season.
Boy, he's awesome.
Came in at number 18 on this list, surrounded by Amon-Ra St. Brown, one in front of him, Jamar Chase, one behind him. So that was the first Eagle on the list. Then Cooper DeJean came in at number 39. Jared Verse, one player ahead of him. Nico Collins, one player behind him. Then you get to 60, Zach Bond. Justin Jefferson, the one player ahead of him. Tristan Wirfs, the one player behind him. All defense so far. Jordan Mailata came in at number 68, Johnny. Mailata comes in at 68 for top 100 most valuable players to their team.
No Lane Johnson
in the NFL.
Well, I'm going to see that the demographics for this of how they judge this.
A.J. Brown comes in at number 78.
This year?
This year. And what he meant for specific teams, top 100 players. No Hurts in the top 100. No Saquon in the top 100. No Lane Johnson. I mean, the injury, I'm sure, is a big factor of it. But those are the players that are mentioned. Only 2 guys on offense, one the left tackle and one A.J. Brown.
I'm surprised Lane Johnson wasn't.
I'm surprised
Right,
Lane's
because I
not
feel
there.
like you got to take that into account. Like, once he left, look at what happened.
I'm shocked.
That's how I view MVP
course.
sometimes.
I'm absolutely shocked.
And with A.J. Brown, when he hasn't played, the Eagles still have Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. So I mean, yes, it's a noticeable absence, but they have other players to kind of fill the void there. With Lane Johnson, Fred Johnson, you have to tip your cap to him because
absolutely.
I think he did an admirable job, and I think he put enough quality things on tape that a team may look at him and say this offseason that they view him as a starter, but he's not Lane Johnson. And so I think you can see the noticeable drop-off when Lane is not there.
Yeah.
Who's number 100? What's the bottom level for that
Number
list?
100 is Nick Emanwari, the safety from Seattle.
He's good, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's all good players. Like, it's not like there's a bad player on this list.
I'm just thinking about Dallas Goedert. Had a ridiculous year.
Dallas Goedert has to be more valuable than A.J. Brown was.
So maybe they viewed him as in the red zone, but not anywhere else.
I mean, the red zone's where they scored their points.
You take Dallas Goedert out of the equation, and then you're asking Grant Calcaterra to fill in that role, and then you're asking Kylan Granson.
These are always hard. It's 100 players.
I'm not buying
it's hard
that
to
at
do
all.
it, but
that's name recognition because there's no way A.J. Brown this year would be 78.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
They didn't have Saquon on. They didn't have Jalen on. So maybe it's not. I think it's just like Andrew saying, a really tough list.
It's tough, but
the rationale that Dallas Goedert's not on the list,
right?
And on the same team, you have A.J. Brown's on there. That's somebody who didn't watch the Eagles.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert was Jalen's go-to guy,
right?
In high leverage moments,
especially in that red zone. All right, go ahead.
All right, just one of our emailers sends in a note and he goes, "Yeah, the $155 million reasons that you were giving Andrew, He said that would more than have covered Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. Where were you going to play? Well, he could play.
What do you mean, where would you play him?
Yeah, you just get rid of Brandon Marsh.
Correct.
By the way, they are really selling. They're trying to sell Brandon Marsh, Justin Crawford, Otto Kemp.
Bro, do you want me to get nasty? Because one of our conversations today is like, why do you get so angry over things that are said, questioned? you want me to piss you guys off? I'm getting sick and tired of the PR tour of this Phillies team. Oh, Otto Kemp, championship player is the words that they use. For
They
what?
did not.
Triple A. That's what they use. For what? The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs?
No,
like
they
I'm
didn't.
trying to figure out how is he
who
a championship?
Who used that?
It was either Dombrowski or Thompson. One of them
gosh.
said it.
No, you know what? What pissed me off is Rob Thompson having the gall to
say they weren't running it back.
Oh, like we turned over like 20-something, 25% of the roster. Yeah, it'd be like Howie going, yeah, we took all the Scribinis on our Eagles roster.
Our special
guys who never,
teams
guys
players.
who never used, yeah, they're the ones we turned over.
You know what, Rob? I'm glad you turned over Jordan Romano and Max Kepler. I'm glad you turned those guys over.
The more that I hear Rob Thompson, I go, Rob, seriously?
The other one. I'm getting annoyed already.
What are you saying?
I'm getting annoyed with the player that's not even at the big league level yet.
Who?
Come on.
Who?
Why are they talking up Rincones? Like what are we doing here?
They like him they like him. Hey, organizations do that about players they like.
Yeah, he was good in spring training last year. Maybe there's upside there.
Yeah, he's still too young for him. He's 24 years
But
old.
there's some tactic there.
They want him to
Don't forget about this guy. For those of you wondering what
you
our
know who
plan
else
is,
They did that with Cody Ashe. How'd that work out?
He's
Yeah,
not
but that's
Cody
because
Ashe.
you guys forgot that they re-signed Schwarber this offseason.
Yeah, that was the most egregious thing. Yo, guys, people
Who
forget.
was the guy he's talking about? Like,
People forget that we signed Kyle Schwarber.
What show forgot? Was it Middays with Marks forgot? Was it Unfiltered? Was it Kevin Cooney? Who forgot? Because I don't know anybody that forgot.
That's what they're hanging their hat on. How can anyone forget?
It's amazing.
Very excited for the season. All right. The Bills had their end of season press conference after the firing of Sean McDermott. Bills owner Terry Pegula. This was a great article by Henry McKenna, who we scoffed at because he picked the Niners to beat the Eagles. And man, he was right.
They're blind squirrels.
During a press conference in Buffalo, Pegula and general manager Brandon Beane obviously had to address the firing of Sean McDermott. It was already confusing right away that Beane got promoted because they questioned, why are you promoting a guy that hasn't really accomplished much, right? Like, they got Josh Allen years ago, and they haven't really been able to
build around him.
Yeah, they haven't been able to. The wide receivers are a disaster. The defense got better, but a lot of it was bringing back Jordan Poyer, like a guy that was already there. So they started talking about the decision that went into firing. You think it might be crazy here sometimes? Imagine these answers. Pegula said that his decision was based on the game in Denver. The game that goes to overtime, and there's the was it an interception, was it not an interception question about the play downfield where the Broncos intercept the pass, but people were wondering, well, hold on, how come that wasn't a catch for Buffalo? So somebody straight up asked, like, well, it kind of came down to like that play. So he said, I did not fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision. So
But
then
you did.
So then they followed up with, well, if that potential bad officiating decision ever happened,
right,
then you would keep your coach, right?
You may win the football game. So he then says, if I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall year after year, which I don't disagree with, right? Like, this was the year that Buffalo was supposed to get past the boogeyman.
Their fan base feels that.
Right. He says, I just sensed in the locker room, where do we go from here with what we have? And that was the basis for my decision. People then pointed out that the players were so emotional after that loss that they lost it. Josh Allen, that he literally said, I let down this team.
He was crying on the sideline.
And yet they're pointing to Sean McDermott. So then Pegula asked a question of his own. What is success? Is success being in the playoffs 7 years in a row without a Super Bowl? And Henry says, yes, that is success. The author of this article. And that leads to a fascinating conversation about regular season success, getting to playoffs, but not getting to the Super Bowl. So when you talked about perspective the other day, yeah, Bills fans wish they would have a Super Bowl, right? Like, they've gone to the playoffs 7 years in a row without a Super Bowl. But Isn't that what everybody's striving for ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, how did you view the Andy Reid years, where they were getting to the NFC title game, but they weren't getting over the hump?
I viewed it successful.
Right.
Even though the biggest
to a point.
Yeah, and then you knew that it was done.
And then I knew I wanted Andy to leave by the time he left, and I will always love Andy Reid. Like I will always look at Andy Reid as a deity.
Yeah, that was 4 years. You wanted him to go 4 years after they were last in the NFC title game in 2008.
Yeah, I wanted him to go. I actually wanted him to go a year earlier before that. But
okay,
but yeah, like 1 year earlier.
But it should be viewed as successful
Huge
because
success.
you're putting yourself in a position where you have an opportunity.
But then people will always hold him to not winning a ring and then going to Kansas City and winning not that long after. And that's why there was so much vitriol toward Andy Reid, especially in the early years in Kansas City, winning a Super Bowl. But it's a great conversation. Kevin Durant once talked about it. Like, why do people always talk about rings when it comes to a player being
Well, he
successful?
went and chased his.
Well, he did.
Yeah, because he couldn't do it on his own.
But he does not think that he was a success because he won in Golden State. He thought he was all. If he never wins with Golden State, he still goes down on that top 75 player list all time.
He goes down as one of the greatest players of all time.
Right.
Yep. Same goes for Dan Marino in another sport.
Right. So it's an amazing conversation. So the owner of the Bills goes, yeah, we've made it 7 straight years to the playoffs, but I don't deem this successful because we didn't win.
But they also on the Keon Carpenter thing, on the
Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman thing, where they said, well, he didn't draft Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I want to focus on that a little bit because I was really taken aback. I thought that was super
Horrible.
unprofessional.
Oh, horrible.
To throw your player who's still on the roster under the bus like that.
And by the way, did you see the video that's now been released?
No.
They have him on video bragging about the fact that it was
his 40 time
pick.
was slow, right?
That it was his that it was his pick. So they found him on after the draft bragging about it. Now he's denying that it was his pick.
So much dysfunction there in Buffalo.
Terrible.
Yeah. Nobody yells at their players like the Buffalo Bills.
All right, coming up next, one of the more wildest betting tickets that I've ever seen that hit, Johnny. Someone saw this Eagles season coming and many others.
Love it when they hit.
Well, not in this case. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. It is 9:47 here on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. I gotta say, it's really cool how much we just talked about Kevin Durant because they're playing him tonight, right? Yeah, tonight's the Rockets game. We gave out tickets to it earlier this week.
Is he like your favorite great player who never played here? Because you have a lot of admiration for him. Like you guys,
I have
you and
admiration
Connor both
for talent. Yes,
you and Connor both. No, you and Connor don't get all defensive. You and Connor act like schoolgirls when you talk about Kevin Durant.
I wish
and all the great players.
I wish they traded for him.
The Maxey trade.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he's my favorite, but I love his game.
I liked him at Texas, man. When he
Oh
was,
my gosh,
he was
so
tearing it
much
up.
fun.
Yeah,
to
remember?
watch
He
at
was a
Texas.
ton of fun.
He's an amazing player.
But one of the things that I love, he went to the Villanova game last night. He loves basketball so much that he'll go to Finneran Pavilion and just watch basketball. By the way, with PJ Tucker.
By the way, we're hoping
PJ Tucker, yeah.
We're hoping that everything, everybody at Villanova today, that everything is okay. Villanova shut down today due to a threat on campus.
Oh, I did not know that.
Due to a threat on campus, so the campus is shut down today.
Yes, all right.
And everybody's in it, so please be careful
Hoping
at Villanova
everything is
today.
okay. Absolutely. All right, yeah, I didn't see that.
Last year, remember they had the fake.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they had to shut down. Well, it happened again. They don't know if it's fake, but they had to do it again. So be careful. Be careful.
Everything's okay.
Just assume that it's a danger until you know that it's not.
Absolutely. By the way, I found the quote thanks to Tim Kelly of On Pattison when Dave Dombrowski called Otto Kemp, quote, a championship player with good talent.
That's incredible.
He'll turn 27 in September. They called him up last year.
Well, he's a youngster.
Yeah. All right.
Jeez.
A wild bet. $33 turned $10,000. It's a nice little
Okay, I
payout.
like that return.
It's unbelievable what this person did.
What was the bet?
Teams to lose in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs.
He got all of them?
All of them. And this was preseason.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute.
It wasn't.
What?
It wasn't. Here's the playoff fields.
What?
Let me bet whether or not this team wins or that team
This
wins.
is like picking the lottery numbers.
It says months, so maybe it wasn't preseason. Maybe it was like September.
Doesn't it have a date of the
or
ticket?
October? It doesn't
Oh, they don't show the ticket.
on the photo that they posted from FanDuel. I don't see the date of the actual bet, but they bet the Steelers, Jags, Chargers, Eagles, Packers, Texans, Bears, and Niners all to lose. Or no, sorry, Steelers, Jags, Chargers, Eagles to lose in the wild card round, and the Packers. He bet the Texans, Bears, Niners to lose in the divisional round of playoffs. This is such a
That's
random
awesome.
bet that this guy bet months
Wait
ago.
a minute. I got to know how long ago that was. Because that's.
The article says
I don't even know
months.
how you could place that
No,
bet.
yeah, it feels like that may have been a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't think you could have placed that bet months ago.
I could be wrong.
I don't even
but-
know a sports book that would run that bet.
But even still, getting all of those correct.
That's amazing.
No, it's amazing.
If you did that even a couple weeks ago, I'm giving you a standing ovation.
The reason why it had to be a long time ago, $34 to $10,000. That's a big
that's a,
payout.
That's a big come up. Yeah. So
it must have happened a while ago.
I didn't even know that.
maybe a month. Even a month ago is a while ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
though.
I mean,
That's still a crazy accomplishment.
Imagine doing that.
No.
God, I've seen what you've done for others.
Yeah.
Why not me?
All of a sudden, you're $10,000 richer. All right.
Yeah, we'll wait for our picks tomorrow.
Yes.
Will
we
Connor and Andrew be eliminated?
I'm
this
not
weekend?
making $10,000 on those picks. I'll tell you
No.
what.
All right. Earlier today on our YouTube chat, they got into a conversation about drinks that they can't have anymore. They had too many of them.
Yeah.
It started with the snowstorm. They're like, all right, what are we all drinking during the snowstorm? Because that's where a lot of people's minds first go. Hey, if it snows,
it's so much fun.
Dry January is over for me. And they start, Sambuca was one that popped up and all these things. So it got me thinking. I mentioned Yingling. Somebody said, wow, congratulations on your success being able to afford Yingling in college. Again, my buddy lived in Pottsville. And
Do you know that Yingling used to be the beer that, in my generation, that parents would make fun of you for drinking?
Right. I remember you telling me
So
that.
that's what's funny is you're getting told, congrats on your success, whereas other generations would have told you, oh, you're drinking that?
Yeah, look at you, young whippersnapper. Andrew, you had an answer right away. What is it?
Yeah. I go back to, and keep in mind I was a freshman in college, Bankers.
Oh, my God.
And
Bankers Club, man.
Southern Comfort.
Oh,
The
SoCo
smell
stinks.
of both.
I
The smell of both.
can't
Oh
smell
my God.
Southern Comfort.
I can't do it. And I am somebody that I don't have issues with that in general. But just that, the smell of it takes me back to that day in
SoCo shots at
2008.
Temple was a big
I
big
cannot
deal.
smell Southern Comfort.
I can't.
I
just
cannot
can't.
smell Southern Comfort.
See, you bring up something interesting. I have no drink that
'Cause
I
you
can't
can't
go
smell.
back to because I can't smell. I've never had
Yeah, I
it.
guess that's a big part of it. The odor.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't get this
Yeah, but
conversation
you also
at all.
the taste though. Taste is affected by smell. So I
Smells
wonder
so
about you and
heavy
alcohol.
with alcohol. Smells so heavy. Like I've always been able to drink everything.
Okay.
Wow.
John?
It is. Well, no, I said Southern Comfort.
So that's
I've
your
never
answer,
been able
yeah.
to. I cannot smell. I can, and he eats an energy bar, and I can smell it from across the room. I can smell if you opened up a new bottle of Southern Comfort.
You could smell
I
it
could
right
smell
away.
it from across. Yes. I
Yeah,
hate it.
I probably could.
I hate it. I hate the smell.
When I was in high school, so it was way back when.
Okay.
For whatever reason, high school girls were able to get alcohol easier than high school guys. Just was a thing. Girls were able to get the alcohol easier, and the friends that I hung out with, they were obsessed with the Pinnacle Swedish Fish vodka.
Oh yeah.
And at that age, whatever is there, you're
gonna have.
You're gonna have. Oh, dude, there was one night, and now that I skeeved looking at the bottle.
The Pinnacle Swedish Fish.
Yes.
I've never even seen it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pinnacle Whipped is another big
Pinnacle
one.
Whipped, yeah, that's another big one. It's a very
terrible.
high school.
Okay.
It's cheaper.
Still better than the Burnett's that came in the plastic bottle.
Yeah,
that
was Bankers.
I had a Burnett's run. I was fine with the Burnett's for a while. The Bankers. The Bankers
that was probably my
whiskey
worst.
Did you
Bankers vodka?
Truth serum to all of you. Did you ever go to your parents' liquor and empty it out and put water in it?
I just took it.
What, like on a specific day?
No.
That was a
So you did that. You did that all the time, and then you put water. And
I never put water in it. I just took
Absolutely.
it. My
'Cause Doc
parents
did-
did so much they didn't realize.
Doc did that to Betty so often. She started to mark her bottle, and then be like, she'd taste the water, and she'd be like, "Are you? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid?" My mom could. 'Cause she was a connoisseur of her liquor.
No, but I already drank it, so you can't have it back.
Yeah. No, I would just take it.
Man.
Yeah. I ran.
And your parents wouldn't care?
They had so much that they didn't notice, I don't think. All right, everybody have a great rest of your day. Andrew, thank you as always. You're the best.
Appreciate you
We
guys.
appreciate
See you
your
soon,
time.
Andrew.
What's next on the docket for you?
Oh man, I don't know.
You gonna take some time off?
Yeah, I'm going to take a few days off, and then
You're
back at
hoping
it.
for the snowstorm.
Are you
probably.
getting out of town at all? Coming up?
Yeah, I just don't have anything on the books, but I probably look at somewhere in Scottsdale, Arizona.
I saw
something
your
like
LA
that.
tweet the other day.
Maybe LA, Nashville. I don't know.
Scottsdale, my Sounds like a good time. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We got Middays with Marks going on next. I believe Sean
Caputo's
Brace.
in.
And okay, Patricia Caputo. I believe Sean Brace.
Yes, because Ray's doing Unfiltered today.
Oh, how about
So a lot of moving chairs here.
that? All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of the day. Talk to you tomorrow here on The Fanatic.